Back at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, those two precious pieces of lumber, well, one of them is the bat that Roger Maris used to hit home run number 61. The good folks from the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown brought that bit of memorabilia to the ballpark tonight. Perhaps Babe Ruth's bat here as well. And the question is, as we welcome you back inside Busch Stadium in St. Louis, will either Mark McGwire's bat or Sammy Sosa's be joining those two on their way to upstate New York after today's ball game? Hi again, everybody. Chip Caray along with Steve Stone. A very privileged greeting to you in Chicago and around the country. We are delighted to be here on what we hope will be a very, very special night for baseball.
I think everybody realizes that Mark McGwire is going to get to 62 before Sammy Sosa. However, for those of you who believe that that's going to be the end of the story, that's not necessarily the case, because Sammy still goes back to the friendly confines, and Sammy will still have a chance to catch him. As you know, Sammy Sosa hits his home runs in bunches, but for Mark McGwire, the moment belongs to him. He's at his home park. He's been devastating in this ballpark, and he's been a one-man wrecking crew since putting on that Cardinal uniform, and it's only appropriate that both of these fellows, coming from divergent backgrounds, coming from different organizations, come together in the red of the Cardinals and the blue of the Cubs, this fabled and storied and very intense rivalry.
And what do you think is going through Mark McGwire's mind? He's gotten to the tying number, 61. He knows everybody around the country wants to see him break the record, and certainly they'd love to see him do it tonight. For after the ball game, the Cardinals head to Cincinnati to play the Reds. Is there any extra pressure on McGwire, as if he needs that already?
I think he knows that he faces Pete Harnisch tomorrow night in Cincinnati. Harnisch has been very tough on him. In fact, held him down the last time he faced him. I think for Mark McGwire, the question is when he's going to hit it. He would just as soon do it as quickly as possible. Last night, in his first at-bat, in the third pitch he saw from Mike Morgan, he hit it out of the ballpark. All the pressure and drama of 61 was by the boards. I think he feels the same way tonight. He has a home run cut every time he goes to the plate, every time he takes a swing. He has a potential of hitting the ball out of the ballpark. I think the sooner the better as far as he's concerned. He doesn't want to drag it on, and he does indeed want to do it in front of the home folks.
So while Mark McGwire quite obviously wants to get his name in the record books all by his lonesome, there's a man in this ballpark who definitely does not want to see that happen. That's Steve Traxel, the starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs tonight.
Steve Traxel talked about it yesterday, and what Traxel said was, I'm going to go right at him. He said, I'm going to let the game dictate how I approach Mark McGwire. However, I'm going to be the man who has to be in charge of each and every at-bat, and I'm going to set him up. I'm going to do what I've done all year long, and it's been a very successful year for Steve Traxel. You have to believe he does not want to go into the record books. He doesn't want to be known as the Tracy Stallard of 1998. He's going to go out there with one thing in mind, and that is not necessarily not giving up home run number 62, but winning this game. That's something Mike Morgan said yesterday. He said he wasn't disappointed about giving up home run number 61. He was disappointed that the Cubs didn't win the ball game, that he gave up a couple of home runs, and he was equally disappointed in his pitch to Eli Marrero. Steve Traxel feels the same way today. He knows how important this win is. As a backdrop, quite obviously, with more implications historically, is home run number 62 to Mark McGwire, and I know Steve Traxel does not want to serve it up.
So Mike Morgan yesterday gave up home run number 61. He said, hey, I'm not going to let that home run decide my fate. I've got two kids at home, a wife who loves me. I've had a very long career. And you hope that he'll be remembered for more than that. But certainly at the moment, Mike Morgan will be remembered as the man who gave up number 61 to Mark McGwire here in St. Louis. There's another man who is a part of this home run chase, and that's Sammy Sosa. He's been held down in this series so far by the St. Louis Cardinals. But again, Sammy's sitting on 58, and he's facing a man, Kent Mercker, against whom you'd think he might have a little bit of success tonight.
I don't think the ball is quite as lively here in the nighttime as it is in the daytime. So Sammy will have his work cut out for him. However, we talked yesterday about Busch Memorial Stadium being much more homer friendly these days. Used to be 386 in the power alleys. Now it's 372. It used to be 414 to straightaway center. Now it's 402. So it used to be a very difficult place to hit a home run. Now hasn't become easy. It's just become easier. And watching Mark McGwire take batting practice before the game today, he was once again hitting the ball into the upper deck. He was doing it with regularity, and that's something that you hardly ever saw here. That's a testament to the absolutely miraculous power that Mark McGwire has.
And it is amazing when you look at what Mark McGwire does in batting practice. This is, yes, a cozier ballpark, but he makes this place look tiny. Just a flick of the wrists and the ball hits off the the scoreboard in straightaway center field at the most prodigious blasts you'll ever want to see.
Especially when you see home run hitters like Ron Gant and Ray Langford, who do have astonishing power, get up, take their best shot, it falls into the lower deck, and they've gotten every bit of it. Then McGwire gets up to the roar of the crowd and applause every time he takes a swing, and he hits it off the facade of the upper deck into the upper deck, and it's been a phenomenal series, an exciting series, and the fans who are privileged to see this live, and you at home who are privileged to see this on WGN, have to realize that you are witnessing a very special moment in baseball history.
And as special as the act itself of hitting the home run was by Mark McGwire, to me, the best part was his mother, his father, his son were all here, and the Mark McGwire family was able to enjoy that moment. I said it this morning a couple of times. The adage in baseball, you have to have a lot of little boy in you to play this game, and to see Mark McGwire galloping around the bases and to greet his young son at home plate as if he was his brother, and the joy and the smile that he had on his face, to me, was the essence of what baseball is, ought to be, and we always hope it could be. So it's time for baseball, and here we go. Here's the Cubs starting lineup, brought to you by Pepsi. The Cubs and Mets in a wild card tie with Johnson, Hernandez, and Grace. Sammy Sosa, again the Cub cleanup man, with a left-hander on the mound. Then Glenn Allen Hill, Gary Gaetti, Mickey Morandini, and the Cub battery of Steve Traxel and Scott Service.
And the defense for Tony La Russa and the Cardinals. Gant, Langford, and Mabry left to right. Tatis, Ordaz, DeShields, and McGwire in the infield. A battery of Eli Marrero and Kent Mercker, the former Brave. Looking for win number 10, and this is 28th start. And I think that we should tell you at this point, the Philadelphia Phillies are murdering the New York Mets. They're leading 8-0, that game in the top of the fourth. And so, partner, it would appear that there is ground to be gained if the Cubs
I haven't heard you say that in a long time, and that's what we like to hear. Bobby Estalella hit a 3-run homer for the Phillies a moment ago, as they are absolutely murdering the New York Mets. That game now in the fourth inning. Hideo Nomo started for New York. Here are the umpires: Steve Ripley, Larry Poncino, Mike Winters, Gary Darling. On what we hope will be a historic night for baseball in St. Louis. Lance Johnson will lead the proceedings off. Lance, with a 7-game hitting streak, with 10 hits during that span, is set to go. Kent Mercker, the left-hander, 9-11 on the year, making start number 28. And we're underway. A high pop fly foul out of play. It's 0-1. A gorgeous night for baseball. Very hot, very humid yesterday. Just 75 balmy degrees at the ballpark. A gentle breeze wafting its way through the capacity crowd tonight. And what a delight it is to be here. The 0-1 is downstairs to even the count.
And despite the obvious lefty-lefty advantage, Lance Johnson has had a good run against Kent Mercker. He's 3 for 7.
Chopper foul past first, and Dan Radisson with a fine play will make some friends in the first row in foul ground.
We have told you before that one of the big problems with the Cardinals this year is the fact that their defense has been very porous. 25 errors at third base in Tatis.
Johnson fouls it back again.
Jim Riggleman looking on with his superstar sitting next to him, Sammy Sosa, who certainly understands and appreciates the significance of the moment. And there is the other combatant in the home run race.
Johnson hits a high fly ball into left center field. Easy play for Langford. He's got it. And the Cubs leadoff man, Lance Johnson, flies out to center to open up the ball game. Jose Hernandez will be the batter. Do you sense at all, Stoney, that the Cubs players getting caught up in this moment? I know that there are those who think that this is a bit of a distraction right now, considering the importance of the Cubs playoff standing. Do you buy into that right now?
I think if the Cubs were a younger team, yes, maybe. And I think they all appreciate the efforts of Mark McGwire. However, to a man, they realize the importance to them of a win here tonight. Would they like to see McGwire hit 62? I think they really would love to witness it live, but I think they would like to see an 11-1 Cub win with McGwire hitting home run number 62.
2 balls, no strikes, and just in case you wondered, Big Mac will hit third for the Cardinals in their half of the first inning. It's a night of scorecard and scoreboard watching in St. Louis. The pitch is outside, 3-0. Mark Grace will be the next hitter. He's 4 for 17 on the road trip. And Gracie went 0 for 5 last night. And on 4 straight, Hernandez draws the 1-out walk. Mercker will walk people. That's his 51st. He struck out 65 men.
When you give up as many hits as Mercker has per 9 innings, you can't really afford to walk too many, because if you do that, you get too many base runners per 9 innings and you give up a lot of runs, and that's one of the reasons why Mercker has a losing record and a 5.27 ERA. He's given up a whopping 183 hits in 149 innings.
So Grace ready to stand in now. Grace flexing his muscles in BP before the ball game as he hit a couple of balls over the fence. And he looks sad. Ball 1.
5 straight bad ones from Kent Mercker. And if you're Mark Grace, you're thinking about a fastball, and you're thinking about it somewhere very hittable as Mercker struggles with his control.
That's a strike. Evens the count. How about Mark Grace? The players have gotten caught up in this, in that they realize the specialness of the moment. Big Mac rounds first base. Grace gives him the forearm bash salute. He said, he almost knocked me into right field, man. He's that strong. In the dirt, pops away from Marrero, and Jose will head to second and stop there. Wild pitch by Mercker.
That is wild pitch number 6 to go along with 3 balks. So Jose Hernandez moves into scoring position. This one should have been smothered by Marrero. It was not. It's an off-speed pitch. You have to be able to knock that down. But the Cubs now out of a double play situation, ensuring that Sammy will come to bat.
Strike 2. It's 2-2. Just underway in St. Louis. Sammy Sosa waiting on deck for the Cubs. Lance Johnson flied out. Jose Hernandez walked, reached second on a wild pitch. And now Grace awaits a 2-2. And it just missed the outside corner.
John Mabry filling in for Brian Jordan, who hurt his Achilles yesterday. Mabry has a great arm in right field.
So if the ball's hit that way, it'll look out. Back up the middle. And into center field, base hit. Langford comes up. Won't have a play. An RBI single for Grace and the Cubs. Jump in front 1-0. Let's score about 6 and then let Big Mac do what he wants to do.
RBI number 75 as Mark Grace takes it right back up the middle, past the diving Luis Ordaz. So the walk, the wild pitch, and falling behind on Mark Grace turns into the first Cub run.
And for the second straight game, the great fans in St. Louis give Sammy Sosa a standing ovation, as much for what he's done on the field as for what he has said off the field. He has handled himself with such incredible class that the fans of St. Louis owe him this kind of reception. He's got 58 homers on the year. The pitch. And look at the flashbulbs pop with every delivery from Mercker. Folks, you won't believe this. Hit high in the air and pop foul out of play.
Well, it seems like it would be somewhat distracting, especially the flashbulbs in the outfield. I'm not sure if they're going to do that with Mark McGwire up. They're doing it with Sammy Sosa, and they're doing it a little earlier than they would normally do it.
1-1. What a cut he had. It's 1-2. Well, the Midwest is Firefly territory, and about 50,000 of them have invaded the ballpark. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cubs have scored first. And Sammy digs in. Mercker stretches, fires. He jackknifes out of the way. 2-2. Tony La Russa back in St. Louis with a heavy heart. The 2-2. Swung, hit through the whole left side. Base hit Sammy. So a solid single into left field puts runners first and second with 1 man out for Sammy. Now a 6-game hitting streak.
If Mercker doesn't start changing speeds, he's going to have a very short night of it. All he's going is 1 speed, most of it fastballs. And now Sammy with a look at Big Mac. And he's saying, yeah, I tried to get it up in the air. What can I tell you? It was a ground ball. And Mac is saying, you can't catch me if you hit ground balls.
So a chance for Glenn Allen Hill to do serious damage here in the first inning. Glenn Allen 6 out of 12 against the Cardinals this year. And he looks at ball one low.
And yesterday they asked Mark McGwire in his press conference, what did Sammy say to him? Sammy said, don't get too far ahead of me.
Well, he's 3 ahead entering tonight's game. Ball too high. Merker really having a big case of stage fright, it looks like, early.
Well, I would think that a couple more out of the zone and Dave Duncan's going to have a trip to the mound. As you see the disparity, just 3 separating these two sluggers.
2-0. Bouncing ball to the shortstop. Good play, Ordaz. Can't get it out of his glove. That cost him a chance at the double play as that ball was really scalded. But there's out number 2.
Well, the Cubs get another out here in the first inning. And on this road trip between Pittsburgh and St. Louis, they've seen 2 of the worst defensive teams in the league. This should have been a double play. It's hit right at Ordaz. He can't get to it. He stays with it, bobbles it, and finally gets the force out at second on what should have been a double play. Instead, Gary Gaetti, who has been red hot since putting on a Cub uniform, with an opportunity.
He's got an 8-game hitting streak, and with the Cubs hitting nearly 400. The pitch to him. He was really touched by that nice standing ovation he got by the St. Louis crowd in yesterday's ball game.
I think it somewhat surprised him. First time he came up, he was greeted very warmly by his former fans.
The 0-1 pitch. Line to right field, base hit. That'll score Grace. Hill round second. He's on his way to third. Gary Gaetti, a 9-game hitting streak, and the Cubs now lead by 2. Boy, he sprays the ball all over the place. And he's driven home his 15th Cub run.
And his 58th of the year, and mostly in RBI situations. Gary Gaetti realizing that pitchers will stay away. He goes the opposite way and drives in another big run. So the inability to turn the double play cost the Cardinals at least 1 run.
So it's 2-0, and here's Mickey Morandini. First and third for the Cubs with 2 men out. Mickey needs 1 RBI to tie his career high of 49. This would be a real nice spot for that. Swung on, high fly ball hit to left, but Gant has him played perfectly, and the inning is over. 2 runs, 3 hits, 2 left. After a half inning, Cubs score 2, but here comes Big Mac in the bottom half of the first. Cubs scored twice in the first, and now Steve Traxel goes to work against the Redbirds. Here's Tony La Russa's lineup. DeShields, Tatis, and then guess who? Ray Langford hits 4th, then Gant, then Mabry, then Ordaz. Kent Merker hits 8th, and Eli Marrero, the Cardinal catcher, bats 9th.
And the Pepsi defense for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs. Hill, Johnson, and Sosa left to right. Gaetti, Hernandez, Morandini, and Grace, and a battery of Scott Service and Steve Traxel. Traxel looking for win number 15 and perhaps a place in baseball history. This is his 29th start. As you can see, control has been pretty good. And the last time he was on this mound, he was absolutely shellacked by this baseball team. So he's got some payback due to these Cardinals. And you'd have to expect this would be a much better evening for him as the adrenaline has to be pumping.
And Delino DeShields will be the man that greets him. Everybody knows Tracy Stallard was the man that served it up to Roger Maris in '61. Tom Zachary served up number 60 to Babe Ruth in 1927. Who will be the man in 1998? As Traxel's first delivery is a bunt try towards second. Mickey in, barehand throw. It's not in time, a leadoff hit.
Just great execution by DeShields. That's what you have to do on that bunt. You have to get it by the pitcher and then outrace the second baseman's arm. And if you can get it by the pitcher, if you have good speed, you usually win the race. That's what DeShields did. Good effort. He makes sure Traxel can't get to it. Morandini does everything perfectly, but DeShields just a step too quick, and he's aboard to lead it off.
You think there's anybody at the concession stand right now with Big Mac on deck?
The concession workers, and they're probably coming out now to take a look at the field.
Here's Tatis, the third baseman. A .282 hitter with 5 homers, 15 runs batted in. DeShields a threat to run. Not going this time, and it's fouled back. From the pitcher standpoint, Stoney, Traxel working off the windup at the bullpen, comes out, throws his warm-up tosses, and immediately has to go to the stretch with Tatis and then McGwire.
I think the real veteran pitchers and the aware pitchers take at least 50% of their tosses in the bullpen from the stretch, knowing that in the not too distant future they're going to have to pitch the majority of their ball game from that particular position.
And that's what Traxel will do with DeShields at first. He's stolen 21 bags. He's been caught 10 times.
They are going to run on the combination of Traxel and Service.
The 0-1, not that time. Breaking ball misses. And the count evens 1 ball, 1 strike.
The advantage you have at home is you got a pretty good idea about where the wet spots are around first base early in the game. They do wet down the infield, and sometimes in the visiting park, if you have a particularly fast team, they will wet down that first base area a little bit too much, usually even with the bag. DeShields is taking his lead off in back of the bag.
The Cubs got 2 in the top half of the inning. What a bunt single by DeShields sets the table for the Cardinals. The pitch, chopper, is a foul ball at third. The count now moves to 1-2.
Tatis came over from Texas along with Darren Oliver, who we saw yesterday, in exchange for Royce Clayton and Todd Stottlemyre. And the Cardinals think Tatis is going to be a pretty good player. Now, I, for one, am very happy that Tatis did come over, because it was his acquisition that cleared the way for Gary Gaetti to become a Cub. He was expendable. Obviously, as a 40-year-old, they know their future is Tatis. And Gary Gaetti has been phenomenal since putting on a Cub uniform. We wouldn't have had him except for that trade. So thanks, Fernando.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Leaning and out. Traxel picks off DeShields.
Not surprising, DeShields took a little bit of a nap, and this is a bad time to do it. He was leaning towards second, and Traxel, with a good move, gets him, and they got him by plenty. And they're arguing right now with Larry Poncino. They're not arguing the call. What he's arguing is the balk, and that means that usually a pitcher will bend the back leg and then come to first. When you bend the back leg, you have to go home. Watch the legs. Right there. The bent front leg. Sorry, Steve-O, that's a balk, but you got away with it, and that's all that counts.
Good thing Bob Davidson's not here, because the runner would have been at second base. So DeShields is picked off, and now Tatis facing a 1-2. Breaking ball takes care of him. Say cheese, Fernando. 2 down. And here's Big Mac. They're just itching to drop a 2 on that building.
And they've thrown out the old baseballs. They have a special baseball that they throw into the game every time McGwire comes to bat.
And look at this place. It's Traxel versus McGwire. And here we go. Breaking ball. 1-0.
The fans booing every pitch that's not in the strike zone. That will continue throughout the night.
The 1-0 pitch. It's 2-0.
Now the fans are standing and booing. McGwire has walked an unbelievable 147 times.
The 2-0 now. Nowhere near. 3-0. Young Matthew McGwire hoping to see his dad set the record here tonight.
You think Tony La Russa has given him the 3-0 green light?
I would say the answer would be affirmative, my friend.
But I got to tell you that Rene Latchman is so far away then McGwire can't see the sign anyway.
3 balls, no strikes. The pitch. Fastball, ground ball toward the shortstop on the 3-0 pitch. McGwire grounds out. Grace comes off the bag to apply the tag, and the inning is over. No runs, 1 hit. Big Mac 0 for 1. Sammy 1 for 1. No homers yet in a 2-0 game. 2-0 Cubs after 1. And yes, indeed, some hopeful television executives on hand here in St. Louis as Merker will face Service Traxel and Lance Johnson in the Cubs' second inning. Scott has had a rough couple of days. He had the cramps in Pittsburgh, then fouled a ball right off his toe in yesterday's ball. It was hit by a pitch off of his toe, beg your pardon. And to alleviate the pressure, they had to drill a hole in the toenail before the ball game today.
But the good thing is that they give you a little stick to bite on so that it's really not too painful.
Yeah, the modern medicine of today is really different than when you played. 1-1. A line drive into center field. Langford on his horse slows down, he says. And that talking horse ridden by Langford is out number 1 for Scott Service.
Well, already Steve Traxel has done much better than the last time he was in this ballpark. And as we see, Rico Brogna leading the way, and the Phillies putting it on the Mets 8-1. And maybe the Mets suffering a bit of a letdown after a very, very intense, very difficult series with the Braves.
The Giants also in wild card contention. San Francisco is 2 games back, and they'll be in San Diego later on tonight. Kirk Reeder against Andy Ashby, who goes for his 17th win of the year.
Well, just about the time you think you have buried the Giants, they fell to 4 games back. They win a few games. We happen to lose a couple, and they find themselves right back in the thick of it with a favorable schedule.
Well, no Dusty Baker team is going to quit. He won't let that happen, and those guys on that team won't let that happen either. They've got some guys that have been around a while. They've got a lot of pride in that clubhouse. The 2-1. Strike 2 called, 2-2.
The only advantage that the Giants have is that they play more home games than road games, and they're the only combatant in the wild card race that can say that at this point.
Traxel, a good hitting pitcher, fouls it away. He's batting .245 on the year.
However, the Giants have to get past the Dodgers once again as they come in for 3 more games, and they love nothing more than to beat the Giants late in the season and knock them out of whatever they're trying to do.
Fastball, fly ball again to center. And again, Langford hauls it in. He's made 3 putouts in the game. 2 down and back to the top of the order for Lance Johnson. Again, Lance carrying a 7-game hitting streak into tonight's ball game. He's batting .255 on the year. A year that's really been for him almost a lost year with all that time he missed with the hand and wrist injury.
Well, it's been a tale of 2 halves.
There's a line drive to left. Gant comes in, struggles, makes the catch, and the inning is over. 3 up, 3 down for the Cubs in the second. Langford will lead it off for the Redbirds, who trail it 2-0.
There is J.D. Drew. He was just called back from the minor leagues. We thought maybe he would get a start, but it's John Mabry tonight. Take a good look at him. You'll probably be seeing him every day in the outfield next year for the Cardinals.
And as Steve mentioned earlier, Brian Jordan strained his Achilles last night in the ballgame, not available for duty today, and he's a free agent to be, and still not certain whether or not the Cardinals are going to get him in the fold for next year. Ray Langford, the batter, and he golfs that ball out of play, 1-1.
The Cardinals do have a logjam in that outfield. They have a surplus of outfielders. What they need is pitching. And if you're going to devote a whole lot of dollars and you have a very promising J.D. Drew, you would think that they would probably let Jordan test the free agent waters and try to use their finances to get some pitching help, which they're desperately in need of.
A ball and a strike. 1-2. Well, they've got Morris, they've got Bennis.
Well,
but he's had some arm problems again.
You know, that's the Bennis situation is very sad. He was supposed to be ready by May 1st. He had a second arm surgery, and now they have no idea when or if he will come back, and when he does come back, what he will come back with.
Another kid in their minor leagues, Rick Ankiel, they think is going to be a superstar in the major leagues.
He might be down the road a bit, though. He's just a youngster.
1-2, 2-2, and of course the kid from Stanford, Chad Hutchinson, that they drafted in the second round and got signed after they took J.D. Drew.
Both of them represented by Scott Boras, and it turned out to be a great draft for the Cardinals this year.
Did it ever. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. Chase the high fastball, and Langford is strikeout victim number 2 for Steve Traxel.
Traxel with pretty good stuff tonight, and as long as you throw high fastballs to Ray Langford, you're going to be in pretty good shape. He cannot catch up to it up there, and he can't lay off it. And that's one of the reasons why he is a strikeout victim for the 131st time.
And now another man that can strike out a lot. It's Ron Gant. He's hitting .231 with 22 home runs. The pitch from Steve is swung on, hit a mile high and deep into left, but well fouled and out of play. Well, we told you earlier that they're watching from around the world. The folks at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow are watching in the wee hours of the morning. So, hearkening back to my college days, Dobre utro, tovarishchi. Means good morning, comrades, in Russian.
And change those rubles to dollars.
Yes, indeed. No balls and 2 strikes. Minored in the Russian language in college, and some of the Cardinal greats, Lou Brock, Red Schoendienst, and the members of the Maris family on hand here in St. Louis on what we hope will be an historic night, not only for McGwire but for Sammy Sosa too. The pitch fouled off at the plate, 0-2.
Red Schoendienst and Harry Caray got to St. Louis the same year, 1945. There was always a special bond between both of them. Red, just a wonderful man, a great ball player, and he always had a very warm spot in his heart for Harry. They were rookies together. They learned this game together, and there is a retired number 2 for the man you're looking at, Red Schoendienst, one of the real nice guys around.
No doubt about that. Breaking ball is outside, 1-2, and as good a player as he was a pretty doggone good manager here too. A lot of great players that he was able to guide to World Series championships here in St. Louis. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The pitch ripped again, foul and out of play. And Ron Gant stays alive, 1-2.
They have retired a lot of numbers here in St. Louis. Ozzie Smith, number 1, retired, and Ozzie was just in the booth talking with us. I asked him if he thought the 62nd home run would be quite as historic as his home run against Tom Niedenfuhr. He said yes, it will be the biggest home run ever hit in St. Louis.
1-2 to Gant. He reaches out, smacks it to right off the end of the bat. Sammy's going to make the play. 2 down. Trax has faced the minimum through an inning and 2/3 now. And the Phillies continue to pour it on against New York. It's 10-1. The Phillies have chased both Hideo Nomo and Willie Blair from the ball game. Now it's Brad Klotz pitching for New York.
I like the Phillies' chances in that one.
Here's John Mabry. Well, who do you think will score more points? The Phillies or the Eagles this year?
Well, the Eagles had a tough opening game.
Mabry takes 2-0. A foul back, 2 balls and a strike.
Mabry's a pretty good hitter, but Steve Traxel has always had good luck against him. Mabry hitting just 176 lifetime against Traxel. He does have a home run, though, against him, but just 3 for 17. And he swings at a lot of low fork balls out of the zone.
Now the 2-1. Out of play, 2-2. Where's this guy going to fit into the Cardinal picture in the outfield next year? Or will he?
There was a time when they thought he might be able to play some third base, but he probably will be number 4 in that outfield. I think that that's probably where he's best suited. A guy who can play a lot of different positions, doesn't really have that great power.
The breaking ball, there's some power. That ball crushed into straightaway center. Johnson on the run, makes the grab, and then runs into the wall for out number 3. Mabry put a charge into it, but Lance caught up to it, and the Cardinals are out of luck in inning number 2. On to the 3rd inning we go as the Cubs lead it 2-0. Hernandez, Grace, and Sammy Sosa are due up against Cardinal left-hander Kent Mercker, Steve Stone, Chip Caray, and the governor of the great state of Illinois, Jim Edgar. Delighted to have you here tonight.
It's great to be back with you guys. Opening game, you've come a long way since that day.
We're doing okay. How about this home run chase?
This is great for baseball. It's really great for the country to have this kind of positive thing going on right now.
Well, hopefully one of these guys will put a charge into a baseball here tonight, and we can see something awesome happen. Hernandez scored the first Cub run of the ball game. He walked, reached second on a wild pitch, and then Mark Grace drove him home. Hit high in the air on the infield. Who wants it? It'll be Big Mac. And he's got it for out number 1. Well, what kind of bets have you placed on this home run chase with the governor?
Well, I've got to say, I'm sitting down with an awful lot of red shirts. And, but what's amazing is when I saw all these Cardinal fans stand up for Sammy when he went up the bat. Now, where I grew up in Illinois, this was serious warfare. Politics was kind of minor sport compared to the Cardinal rivalry in Central Illinois.
I think what's happened now is that this home run chase has kind of transcended the rivalry, and I think that the fans were showing their appreciation for the way Sammy has handled it and the fact that it's been such a great competition between two of the great sluggers. And what I love to see is the fact that it's out of the American League and in the National League for the first time in a long time.
A strike to Grace, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, you're right. It transcends a lot of things. I mean, again, and I thought that was the most exciting thing to me, to see the way the fans have taken to both of these, I think, excellent ball players.
Line drive, left field, base hit. Grace 2 out of 2. Well, they had a great story in the USA Today newspaper today on the city of Atlanta, Illinois, right in between Chicago and St. Louis, almost equidistant. And I wonder if they're digging trenches, drawing up battle lines.
Well, I think everybody here wants to see them both do well. The Cubs are in contention, the Cardinals aren't. So that makes it a little easier. That might save some warfare. But again, this is, you see Cardinal fans clapping for the other guy's player. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, here is Sammy, his second crack at number 59. The pitch is a strike call. It's 0-1.
Well, we said before the game that I think that probably many of the Cubs would love to see the game turn out 11-1 in the Cubs' favor with Big Mac hitting number 62.
And Sammy getting 4.
That'd be nice. The pitch. Change pulled toward third. Tatis to second, 1. And on to first. In time, double play. Wow, did you see how far off the bag DeShields was when he caught that ball?
I did, but apparently Mike Winters didn't.
Double play ends the inning. 5-4, 3 and out. Look at this. This wasn't even close. And the inning is over. On to the bottom of the 3rd inning. It'll be Ordaz, Mercker, and Marrero. 2-0 Cubs have the lead with Steve Stone, Chip Caray, and the governor of the great state of Illinois, Jim Edgar, here in St. Louis. As Steve Traxel goes to work, he's faced the minimum through 2. And Governor, I know you're leaving office soon, and your reflections on your great accomplishments during your tenure.
Well, it's been a great honor to be governor, and hopefully we're leaving the state a little better than we found it, but it's just something I always will be very thankful that I had the opportunity to do.
1 ball, no strikes. It misses outside. 2 balls and no strikes to the Cardinal shortstop.
One of the things, I probably won't get to come to these kind of games, though, quite
well, just call us anytime.
Yeah, anytime somebody's up with 61 home runs and 58.
No problem. No problem. 2-0 the count. And that's right through there. 2 balls and a strike.
Ken Mercker, a pretty good hitter in the on-deck circle, hit a grand slam home run his last start, so you certainly can't take him for granted.
And there is the slugger who probably told Mark McGwire how to hit the long ball after he took that ball deep with the bases full. 2 balls and a strike to Ordaz. The pitch. It's low and away, 3-1.
Well, Governor Arnie Harris is so wrapped up in this classic Titanic home run struggle that The only question that he has for you is Arlington Park ever going to open up again?
Well, we'll see what happens. I hope to have a little more time to spend out to those kind of places here pretty soon. So just tell Arnie we'll get to a race someplace.
That would be good. I was hoping you would say don't bet on it. But Governor, thank you so much for the visit. Enjoy the rest of the ball game. Hopefully we'll see some history made tonight. And again,
we look forward to seeing you guys in the playoffs.
We do too. Come see us anytime.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Nice to see you.
Governor Jim Edgar of Illinois. Our thanks to him for joining us tonight, as it's 2-0 in favor of the Cubs in a full count now. The pitch popped up on the infield. Mickey Morandini has had a great year with the glove. 43 straight games without a mistake. He's as sure-handed as they come out there. The Phillies just crushing the Mets.
And our congratulations to Scott and Sue Traylor on the birth of their son Jack Edward on Saturday. And Scott is the grandson of Salty Saltwell, who was a general manager of the Cubs and a Cub employee for many, many years, and a wonderful man. So Salty, we congratulate you and the whole family.
With a nickname like Salty, I'm sure that child's nickname will be Tractor.
It's not a bad one.
And
it's already used by that big fellow out of Michigan.
That's okay. I don't think he copyrighted it, at least not yet. 0-2 to Merker, who tried to bunt. So he's the guy that gave you the big bucks, huh? Salty?
Salty was a general manager in the year when I didn't sign a Cub contract and went on to become the first free agent in Chicago Cubs history. That was following the 1976 season, and I eventually went back to the south side of town to the White Sox under Bill Veeck, and was a member of the South Side Hitmen in 1977.
1-2, misses outside. It's 2-2. Well, you know, you read the history of baseball's labor negotiations. You hear of Messersmith, McNally. You don't hear Stone too often.
Not too often. Did not play a big role in that.
There's strike 3. Another say cheeser for Traxel. He struck out 3 men now.
Well, Merker tried to duck under a thigh-high fastball, and if you're not Billy Barty, that's a tough thing to do.
Or Eddie Cadell, of course. Moises Alou has hit a 2-run double for the Astros. They're crushing Cincinnati 6-1 in the second inning.
How about Randy Johnson? Has thrown 4 games in the Astrodome for Houston. He's thrown 4 shutouts, a 7-1 record, and his ERA as an Astro is an even 1. He won 1-0 last night over Cincinnati.
I guess you think that's good.
I would say that's better than average.
2 outs for Marrero. How many wins did he have with Seattle? Is he at 11? 11-12, 10-12, something like that. He still might win 20 games this year.
If anybody can do it, it's him. He seems to be reborn in that Astro uniform. And there's a lot of folks who are headed to postseason play, notably in San Diego and Atlanta, who do not want to run into Randy Johnson and the Astros in the first round. And even if the Cubs make it, they cannot do that.
That ball line toward left at Glenn Allen Hill. He's got it. And Steve Traxel has faced the minimum through 3 innings in St. Louis. Glenn Allen Hill will lead it off for the Cubs in the 4th as it's a 2-0 game. There's a look at beautiful Busch Stadium from above. The Budweiser blimp providing our air shots tonight on what we hope will be a very historic occasion. 2-0 our scores. We head to the Cubs half of the 4th inning with Steve Stone, Chip Caray, and the legendary voice of the Cardinals, Jack Buck, is on hand.
Is that why I'm here?
Yeah, well, no, but you can sing anytime you want. Great voice, a great pleasure to have you.
I sing better than Ditka, don't I?
No question. You sing better than Grandpa, too.
He was awful, that Ditka. He was terrible. Who is this pitcher? Oh, that's our pitcher. That's Merker. I'm a little turned around. Things are too exciting here, aren't they?
How about this, huh?
Yeah, I always like this player, Hill. I'm surprised, Steve, that he doesn't play better than he does, aren't you?
Well, he's hit very well since he's put on a Cub uniform, and he is enormously strong. But this time, he's going to come up empty.
I grew up listening to this man to my right, put the transistor radio under my pillow every night, listening to you call all those great Cardinal moments. Where does this one with Mark McGwire rank for you?
Well, you know, yesterday I jumped out of the chair. I jumped about that. I kind of think it's one of the greatest moments in Cardinal history. I wonder, Chip and Steve, You think when he hits number 62 that it's going to surpass Bobby Thompson's home run? Do you think it will? And be the most monumental home run in the history of baseball? Could be, huh?
I think it's got a good chance of being, because this record has stood for 37 years, Jack, and I think that with all of the attention paid on both of the sluggers, Sosa and McGwire, and the fact that probably by themselves they have rejuvenated the game of baseball in 1998, I think you're right. It has a chance of being the most memorable home run ever hit.
And are you surprised with the impact that McGwire has had as far as the conscience of Cardinal fans?
You know, we were out of the pennant race in June. Everybody knew in July we weren't even going to compete for the wild card. And we're going to draw 3,200,000 and break a record. And it's not because of the broadcasting. I'll tell you that.
You don't have one of those bonuses like Big Mac in his contract?
Think of that. He gets paid even more than the $8 million that he's getting. Isn't that something?
Well, whatever he's getting, he deserves that and more for what he's done in this city.
Gary Gaetti lines a shot over short. How about this guy? He's done nothing but hit since putting on that Cub uniform. This is a guy that once said, I'll come to Chicago and play for free.
I'm sure he would, too. And I'm sure, guys, if the Cubs win the wild card, and I, for one, hope they do, you'll give Gaetti a lot of credit. He'll make the difference, won't he?
He's one of the guys that has made a huge difference, especially when Jeff Blauser went down. They couldn't have gotten Gary Gaetti at a better time, and we credit the acquisition of Fernando Tatis opening up the possibility that Gaetti would go somewhere else, and he decided to come to the Cubs where he could fit right in, and he's worked perfectly and hit everything in sight.
And Blauser told me he's ready to come off the DL tomorrow.
He'll be ready to go tomorrow. The Cubs activated Henry Rodriguez for tonight's ball game, so there's a chance we might see him here in St. Louis tonight. And now a balk has been called, but they called it against the wrong guy, because Traxel did it too.
Well, the right guy, as far as the Cubs are concerned. That's the fourth balk of the year for Kent Mercker, and so now Gary Gaetti moves in a scoring position.
What did he do?
We'll take a look at it again, and Kent Mercker, right there, he starts to come up, and then he hesitates, and that is a no-no. That's what it says in the rule book. It's a no-no.
Not a balk?
In those words, really? You mean the umpire yelled, "That's a no-no"?
That's it.
He did? That's a no-no.
And then you tell him to take another base.
That's a no-no.
2 balls and a strike. That's why he's the best in the business. All those big words he uses over there. The pitch. 3 balls and a strike.
Steve, what about the bat speed of Morandini? Isn't he a terrific hitter these days?
He's been another guy that's made a huge difference, especially against the right-handers at the top in the number 2 spot all year long. He's one of the reasons Sammy's driven in 140 runs. Mickey was on base most of the time.
And there's a walk. First and second, 1 man out for Scott Service.
Ken Mercker has made Cardinal baseball almost as exciting as Mark McGwire. People are batting over 300 against him. He's walked almost as many as he's struck out, and every once in a while he gives up a balk, a no-no.
That's a no-no. That's right.
Well, Jack, I remember back at Harry's Roast when you did just an unbelievable job. You were certainly as good or better than any of the comedians that were there.
That's because I got on the program first.
You did an exceptional job.
That thing lasted forever, didn't it?
Service will line drive to left field. Will Gaetti try to score? Nope. They'll hold him up. Bases are loaded for the Cubs now.
Cubs trying to get out of here with a split, and they got a very good chance of doing that.
And especially with Philadelphia all over the Mets, the Cubs would regain their 1-game lead in the wild card race.
They're not going to go very far with Mercker because they have a host of pitchers on the ball club now. They added 3 more today, including Croushore, Ibar. You know, you saw Ibar this year. He was 10-0 in Memphis, and an ERA of less than 3, so he might help the Cardinals.
Well, he's got a pretty good arm, and looks like King loosening up.
That's Curtis King. He's another one they just added. And any more difficulty for Mercker, and he'll be out of there.
Quick meeting on the mound is over. Let's pause quickly for station identification. From Busch Stadium, Chip Caray, Steve Stone, and Hall of Famer Jack Buck. here from St. Louis. And another big name, too, called up from the minor leagues, J.D. Drew by the Cardinals.
He's a nice kid. We interviewed him on the Dugout Show.
Here's Steve Traxel. Big cut, came up empty, 0-1.
Do you think Merker wants to get out of the game so he can go sit in left field to try to get a home run off the bat?
What's it, $1 million?
Sosa or McGwire? I wonder. Cardinals botched up a double play ball earlier. It cost them a run. Their defense is poor. They're third from the bottom in defense this year.
No balls and a strike to Traxel. That's right, through there. 0-2.
Traxel's driven in 6 this year. That's third on the team, behind Kerry Wood and Kevin Tapani, and he's trying to improve on that.
2-0 in favor of the Cubs. We're in the 4th. Steve Traxel's driven home 6 runs on the campaign. Little looping pop that's going to reach the seats and out of play.
Steve, if you were pitching, you wouldn't throw a changeup to a pitcher, would you?
In this situation, I would do anything I could to try to get out of the inning. So I threw occasional changeups, but I did one time, Jack, drop down, throw a sidearm pitch to Gaylord Perry when he was pitching with the Cleveland Indians in spring training. Got him out, got out of the inning. He passed me on the way back to the dugout. Said, if you ever drop sidearm again on me, I'll hit you in the head with the next time you're up.
Report you to the union.
Again, a high fly. This one out of play down the right side.
You know, players today complain about being thrown at. They didn't usually just throw at hitters in the past. They used to hit them and hit them on purpose.
Well, here's Sammy Sosa, hit 58 home runs, Jack. He's been hit 1 time all year, and that was with a changeup.
There was another one, and he got a piece.
That was a changeup, wasn't it?
It was, and Traxel just got a piece. Well, you've got to be pleased as punch, too. Your son, Joe, working this ball game today.
Yeah, he's just to our left, and this might be a historic evening for Sosa or for McGwire.
And for the Bucks, too.
And for the Bucks, yeah.
That would be awesome. Got to hear stereo Bucks.
There he is.
He looks like Papa, lucky devil.
He does what?
It looks like Papa, lucky devil.
No, he doesn't have the years. Someone told me I was the only one they could look straight in the face and tell them their ears were dirty.
Oh, man. No balls, 2 strikes. That'll back him up 2-2.
Well, that makes the changeup look a little bit better when you get some high, tight fastball just in.
That's a good pitch, wasn't it?
Well, Bob Gibson used to use that a time or two.
Oh, yeah.
Line again to right. Traxel not going without a fight here in the 4th inning.
The old story about Dizzy Dean when the hitter used to dig in at home plate. He used to yell in from the mound, "Dig a little deeper, partner. I'm going to bury you right there."
Again, Merker comes set, and the pitch. Finally got him with the change. And Traxel strikes out for out number 2.
Well, Jack, you've seen this ballpark change somewhat. This used to be a very difficult place to hit a home run. Now Mark McGwire makes it look easy. Is that because of the huge strength of Mark McGwire, or the fact that it is, for whatever reason, much more homer friendly these days?
Well, I think for a lot of reasons, Steve, but first of all, he's hit so many home runs. He's hit so many home runs that we've forgotten how far he hits it. There's nobody on the face of the earth who hits the ball where McGwire hits him. Nobody.
Lance Johnson looks high at ball 1.
Well, it used to be close to impossible to hit the ball in the upper deck, and now every time you see a highlight, you see Mark McGwire going into the upper deck.
And it's a lively baseball, and the diminished pitching and the expansion. There's no doubt about it.
Bases loaded for the Cubs, and that's high 2-0.
I think this is one of the most exciting plays in baseball. The bases loaded walk.
Well, it's exciting for us. We need a win, man. We'll take anything we can get.
I watch him swing. Oh, he fooled me.
2-1.
Well, usually it's pretty difficult to walk Lance Johnson. He's never been known as a walking leadoff hitter. In fact, he's managed 21 this year in 221 at-bats.
Not what you like out of your leadoff guy. There's a rocket hit toward right. On the run, Mabry. He's got it, and he's over. Cubs Cubs load the bases with 1 out and fail to score. And Jack, I know you got to get back to call Mark McGwire's shot.
Take me up to the ball.
Thanks for the visit. Hall of Famer Jack Buck, a real treat. And one of my childhood heroes here in St. Louis. Cubs loaded the bases in the 4th with 1 out, did not score. And now the Cardinals send the top of their order up against Steve Traxel in a 2-0 game. DeShields, Tatis, and Big Mac Mark McGwire here in St. Louis. DeShields reached on a bunt single on the first pitch of the ball game. Then he was picked off first, and since no one else for the Cardinals has reached.
Scott Rowland has driven in 100 in this his 2nd year in the major leagues.
So here's DeShields. And he takes a strike. I would imagine, Stoney, that this will be the first of many 100 RBI seasons for that man, Scott Rowland.
He's a special player. He's going to be just better and better as the time moves along.
No balls, 1 strike to Delino. It's even now, 1-1.
Let's hope that the Cubs don't rue the fact that they weren't able to come through with the bases loaded. This has really been a road trip characterized by squandered scoring opportunities.
That ball ripped foul past first. Well, yesterday the Cubs stranded 11 men in the ball game, 8 of them in scoring position. 2 days ago in Pittsburgh, they left 10 men on, 6 in scoring position. They lost both games by a single run. So you can't afford to do that and win many. The Cubs have already left 5 tonight. That's hit toward third. Gaetti, the ball found him, and he throws out Delino DeShields. Traxel again facing the minimum through 3 innings and a third. This man, you'll remember, Steve Traxel, has pitched pretty well in big ball games. Remember the home opener, the emotions of that day? Steve Traxel shut down Montreal. And he's already exorcised the demons of a terrible performance here in St. Louis last month. Tatis takes a strike.
Well, he went out there with a couple of goals in mind. The first was to win the ball game, and the second was to let Pete Harnisch talk at a huge press conference about home run number 62.
It was 1 month and 1 day ago that Traxel went a third of an inning against the Cardinals. That was a game won 16-3 by the Redbirds. Today, though, the Cubs enjoy a 2-0 advantage. The 1-1 right on the outside corner. Traxel's got his A game so far tonight. Tatis ready, and the 1-2. Chase the high fastball. 4 Traxel strikeouts, and McGwire will stand in, and the umpires will load up with the special baseballs. Again, each baseball is numbered sequentially. It also has an infrared or fluorescent marking that's only seen under a certain kind of light, so that if McGwire hits a home run, there's no doubt as to its authenticity.
You can bet that the folks will be standing up around the ballpark, but especially in left field, in the upper deck in Big Mac land, and all over the lower deck in left and left center field.
First pitch, rocket deep toward left. He did it! 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 In St. Louis!
Let's take another look at it as Mark McGwire hits a line drive rocket. And no fans will have this baseball. It just barely clears the wall. And he knows it's gone. And then he gets so excited he misses first base.
I truly believe in fate after what's happened this weekend. I dedicated this home run to the whole city of St. Louis and all the fans here. Thank you for all the support. It's unbelievable. All my family, everybody, my son, Chicago Cubs, Sammy, Sosa, unbelievable. Class. Thank you, St. Louis.
He jumps into the arms of his batting practice pitcher, Dave McKay, and then realizes he has to touch first base.
I have never cried at a ball game before until now.
What an absolutely awesome sight. When he went over to the Maris family and hugged them, went into the stands to recognize the fact that the record that stood for 37 years now has fallen. It belongs to him. It's truly one of the most miraculous evenings you could ever have at the ballpark. I'm just happy that you and I were here to see it live.
Well, we showed you before the game Babe Ruth's bat, Roger Maris's bat, and now the bat of Mark McGwire will be headed for Cooperstown as Stan the Man Musial, perhaps the most famous, most loved Cardinal in this illustrious history of the franchise, is watching a dawning of a new hero, not only for the city of St. Louis and the Cardinals, but for this game of ours as well, as Big Mac has made history here in the gateway city of St. Louis. 13 years after the passing of Roger Maris, he's hit his 62nd home run. He's dedicated the home run to the city of St. Louis and these great fans. And what an honor and privilege it has been to see it here tonight. And now it's Steve Traxel who moves into the baseball record book along with Mark McGwire, joining Tom Zachary, Tracy Stallard. And now Steve Traxel is giving up perhaps the most monumental home runs in baseball history. And don't forget Al Downing, too.
And bear in mind, Chip, this was game 144 for the Cardinals. And Roger Maris did it in his 163rd game because they played an extra game that year. So McGwire has done it quicker than anybody in the history of this game.
And there was no intention of having a long interruption for this ball game. You knew it was going to happen should McGwire do it. And after this game is concluded, there will be a lengthy ceremony on the field, and we will carry it for you here from St. Louis. But an unbelievably emotional moment. And Jack Buck, the Hall of Famer, brought up a good point. Is that now the most famous home run in baseball?
I think you're looking at it because there are a lot of people that didn't know if that record would ever fall. It has fallen, and it has fallen right here on September 8th of 1998 in the Cardinal 144th game, and there is a very emotional Hall of Famer, Jack Buck.
Makes me want to cry. And everybody saluting McGwire. Traxel didn't want to serve up the home run, but McGwire hit a heck of a pitch.
That is a moment for the ages here in St. Louis. And the one thing Steve Traxel has to do now is get back to business. The Cubs nursing a one-run lead. We're only in the 4th inning.
The game seems so horribly insignificant after that. But after a delay of, I guess, 10-15 minutes here in St. Louis, we're back to action. A 2-out line drive homer by Mark McGwire. And now, what do you have to say about this? How many more will he hit before it's all said and done?
I figure 67, 68. And now Sammy is 4 back. And now he's really got something to shoot for.
1 ball, 1 strike.
But just remember, as difficult as it is, the Tom Hanks line. There's no crying in baseball.
Well, it's awesome. Glad to have been able to do it. Seeing Jack Buck do it. Seeing so many of these Cardinal fans do it. And now the other interesting note is so much had been made about who was going to catch the baseball. No one caught it. It lined over the fence by about an inch underneath the stands, and maybe a lucky usher will find it and hit the lottery. 1-2 to Langford. Swing and a miss, but St. Louis, folks, has seen more great history. Mark McGwire has hit number 62. One of the most incredible moments as McGwire becomes one of baseball's immortals here tonight.
A line drive into right field off the bat of Jose Hernandez, and you'll excuse us if we missed a pitch in the top of the 5th inning. Getting McGwire coming back onto the field. Well worth it as Mark Grace walks in tonight. 2 for 2. Pair of singles, an RBI, a run scored. But right now it's like the game is taking place elsewhere. Up the middle, off the mound to Ordaz, has time, 2 gone. Mark McGwire in this 1998 season, as Sosa rips it foul, has said just about all the right things, and he is a modern athlete who respects the game and respects his predecessors, and what he showed us all and the Maris family with those hugs over there are lasting memories that will not go away. Now this crowd gets into it for Sammy Sosa. 1 point. The home run, 341 feet. The shortest in distance McGwire has hit all year. Two balls and a strike.
But if you figure the distance between St. Louis and Cooperstown, it becomes the longest one he's hit.
This crowd now is standing for Sammy Sosa. They would love nothing more than to see Sosa connect and hit number 59. These two have come together in 1998, and Cardinal and Cub fans are together right now rooting for Sosa.
That's a switch.
It is.
For Cardinal and Cub fans to be together on anything.
But the one thing the rivalry has always been is very respectful of the other team and the other fan. The 3-2 pitch to Sosa, a 2-out walk, and the crowd, Cardinal fans mainly, booing Merker as he issues the 2-out walk.
One would think that now that Mark McGwire is relaxed, that he could go on and hit maybe 15 more home runs. And the same could be said for Sammy Sosa. It's very possible that Sosa could end up with more home runs than Mark McGwire this year.
Glen Allen Hill, strike one. That's one theory that you hear, that okay, now McGwire's broken the record. Still involved in a heated wild card chase, and there is here in McGwire relaxing. Sure, one way or the other, he could go off, fall off in the home run pace, and Sosa could pass him by, but time will tell about that. 1 on, 2 out, and strike 2 to Glen Allen Hill. Meanwhile, it's a 2-1 game, Bob.
It is.
5th inning, Cubs out in front by a run, and they have a man at first and 2 out.
Well, considering the McGwire, the 19 games remaining after tonight, or 19 games including tonight, if you average 3.3 at bats per game, which is about what Mac has done this season, he's going to get a little over 60 at bats the remainder of the season. Well, he's hit 13 in his last 63 at bats, so it's conceivable he might hit 75.
Glen Allen Hill a full swing, but he's jammed, and Ordaz back to get it to end the inning. So a 2-out walk to Sosa. He is left on. We will have lots more tonight. Halfway through this one, a night that history is made in St. Louis. 2-1 Chicago. Well, folks, tonight's Skyview coverage from the Bud One Airship is brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Down below, history has been made. Mark McGwire connects for home run number 62, the new single-season home run champion. He did it in the bottom of the 4th inning at 18 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. Here's a strike and the count 0-1 on Ron Gant. Well, folks packed into this stadium, hoping tonight would be the night. Mark McGwire did not disappoint as his march continues. Gant flies into right. Sammy Sosa coming on. He makes the catch. 1 away, and let's take it now down to Steve Lyon. Steve.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. This is an unbelievable story. I'm standing down here with Tim Forneras. He caught the ball. He works for the club on the grounds crew along with his brother Tito, and his mother works as a concierge. Now, Tim, tell me about how he caught the ball.
It was unbelievable. Right when it hit off the bat, I knew it was going out. It went right over the sign. There was a bunch of grounds crew guys on the wall, but I was right on the edge, and I said, that ball was mine. So I jumped off, I ran as fast as I could, I snagged it, and then I didn't know what to do with it, so I kind of walked around.
Well, you know, we talk about the pressure that Mark McGwire has had hitting the home runs. A lot of pressure on you as to what you're going to do with the ball, and what did you decide?
Well, it's a definite decision. It will definitely go to Cooperstown, or, you know, Mr. McGwire, of course, and then he can decide what he wants to do with it. I just don't want to be taxed.
That's a great answer. You know, this is his mother, Tina. Now, you must be very proud of a son who's willing to give up that kind of a responsibility, give the ball back to the guy who rightfully deserves it.
He's always been a giving child, and I had no doubt in my mind that he wouldn't do this. He said it. He said if I ever had that opportunity, I wouldn't even think about it twice. It's his.
You know, Tino, you were out there with him, and you said he was just too quick for you. He got to the ball quicker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the ball went out just like you said. And next thing I knew, it was over, and he was already halfway there, and I didn't even have a chance for it. And there isn't a better kid. I mean, he said, since, you know, if I ever had the chance, I'd give it to Mr. McGwire, and he can do whatever he wants with it after that. So he's been saying that all along.
Well, just another one of those great stories that we've had here all week long. Let's send it back to you guys in the booth.
All right, Steve. There's where it went. In between the K's for the strikeouts at the top of the wall in left field. 341, again, the shortest in distance, but the biggest in significance that Mark McGwire hits in 1998. 2 out, nobody on, and a breaking ball is a strike to Luis Ordaz.
I tell you, I'm overwhelmed that Tim would give the ball immediately to McGwire without thinking. Overwhelmed.
I think we're all, the three of us, are finding out things about ourselves that we might not have known before.
A lot of people
this
are.
home run chance.
I think a lot of people are. We're not the only mercenaries in this country.
Here, watch. Watch Tim. You'll see him come up. That's not Tim. It's from Tim. It's one of the ushers down by the field, and McGwire just gives it right back to him. So Tim gives it to an usher to give to McGwire right at the home plate celebration. McGwire says, "Yeah, take it back." Now, he eventually will get it, and Cooperstown eventually will get it. And we will track the story about young Tim. Ordaz pops it up into center field, and Lance Johnson is there. I see his mom. I see Tim's mom, Rita, every day when I come to the ballpark, and I saw her tonight. She said, "Do you think tonight's the night?" I said, "I think tonight's the night." Little did she know young Tim would come up with it. Well, okay, we're getting a little greedy. Mark McGwire, 8 multi-home run games this season, 51 in his career. He's hit 1 tonight. He's hit 62 on the year, and it is our intention, folks, after the game, as Gaetti leads it off in a 2-1 game in favor of the Cubs. We're in the 6th inning. It's our intention to interview Mark McGwire right at the conclusion of this game. And that brings up another aspect of this, guys, how gracious Mark McGwire has been with his time, and how wonderful a job the Cardinals PR department, led by Brian Bartow, has been in handling this situation. 2 balls and a strike on Gaetti. Dan Farrell and all of the people, general manager Walt Jocketty, and a list of people that runs on and on and on, and getting Mark McGwire to us at times, to the other parts of the media at times, as Gaetti lost a foul ball down the left field line, 2-2. Major League Baseball has done a great job as well.
There's Walt Jocketty, the man responsible for signing Mark McGwire. And Mark McGwire is not even among the top 5 paid players in Major League Baseball. You talk about a steal and a deal.
2 balls, 2 strikes. It's still 2-2.
How much money do you think Mark McGwire has generated for the industry of baseball in 1998?
I don't know if you could put a number on it. Attendance up at every ballpark that Mac went to, priceless. That says it all right there.
Well, you've seen history tonight. Next Tuesday, you can find out who survives the big propane blast and who doesn't on the season premiere of King of the Hill. History next Tuesday, and then see why Sue is the breakout personality of the new season on the series premiere of Costello before an all-new Guinness. It's Fox Tuesday starting next week at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Here's Morandini.
We've survived the blast tonight. We have 1 more to go next Tuesday.
That's right. Wow. So 1 out, nobody on for Mickey Morandini, who is 0 for 1 with a fly out and a walk. That's strike 2. But you mentioned Walt Jocketty. I live here in St. Louis. When he made the trade, a lot of the local media said it's just rent a player. The Cardinals were basically out of the running for the postseason last year, and they said, why would you give up 3 young pitchers to get Mark McGwire when you know he's going to be a free agent and not stay here? Well before the end of the season, Mark McGwire gave everybody here in St. Louis and really throughout the Midwest an early Christmas present when he said he would stay here, sign for less money, deferred a lot of money, then made the announcement he would donate $1 million a year to charity for abused children. And it fell out of the sky from nowhere, and here he is, Mark McGwire, who probably will end his career in a Cardinal uniform, and look what he's done in 1998.
Acquired by the St. Louis Cardinals in a trade with the Oakland Athletics for pitchers T.J. Matthews, Eric Ludwig, and Blake Stein on July 31st, 1997. And how good must those 3 guys feel right now to have been traded for Mark McGwire?
T.J. Matthews, who grew up right across the river, was heartbroken when he was traded away from the Cardinals. Very good young right-hander pitching out in Oakland. Blake Stein looks like he's going to be a good starter, and Eric Ludwig is no longer with the Oakland A's. He is now pitching for Jim Leyland in the world champion, lest we forget, Florida Marlins. A little fly ball into center, 1 hop picked up by Langford off the bat of Service, a 2-out single.
Well, talking about the possibility of McGwire being a rent-a-player last year, Walt Jocketty said, I knew once we got him here to St. Louis, put him in front of these Cardinals fans at Busch Stadium in the Midwest, the kind of people that are here, knowing the kind of guy Mark McGwire was, Walt Jocketty was pretty sure they'd be able to ink him to a contract.
And you talk about a perfect match. This community, these baseball fans, which if you're not familiar with it, as Traxel lines a base hit into left field, the Cardinals will go over 3 million in attendance. A feat normally reserved for cities the size of New York, Los Angeles, the hysteria around the Colorado Rockies when they came into the league. They will go over 3 million. And they do it from an enormous drawing area throughout the Midwest, states that surround Missouri. People drive mile after mile after mile to come watch the Cardinals, and lately to come watch McGwire. 2 on, 2 out. Lance Johnson at the plate. Johnson trying to add to the Chicago lead, which is 2-1. He takes a strike. Back-to-back 2-out hits, and now Johnson to the right side. Good play by DeShields to his left, and the inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left, 8 left tonight for the Cubs. Another look at number 62, 341 feet later. That man's your new single-season home run champion. Bottom of the 6th inning. And wow, what a night for Cardinal fans. Not only do you catch a guy who is going to end up in the Hall of Fame, but you see the major league debut at the plate right now of J.D. Drew, the highly touted prospect who held out from the Philadelphia Phillies after 2 years ago being drafted by the Phillies, seeking an enormous contract. It didn't happen. He sat out. He played in the Northern League. And Bob Brenly, he goes back into the draft. The Cardinals select him, sign him. Another feather in the cap of Walt Jocketty, and here he is.
Yeah, what a night to make your debut, huh? I don't think he'll forget this day.
J.D. Drew gets his name in the box score. A box score that may likely end up in Cooperstown. The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. So J.D. Drew, wearing number 8, making his major league debut. Left-handed hitter with power. That's strike 2. We're in the 6th inning, and Drew leads it off with Marrero and DeShields to follow. A ball and 2 strikes. 2-2.
See J.D. Drew starting his career tonight, and I can't help but think, and I was thinking about him all day, Butch Yatkaman turned 90 years old on June 15th. He worked for the Cardinals over 70 years, and he is at home watching the game this evening. And I would be remiss not to say hello to the diminutive equipment trainer, equipment manager of the St. Louis Cardinals for over 70 years, and loved by everybody in this city, and not here at the park tonight, but watching the game on television.
The 3-2 to Drew is hit down the right field line. He hooked it, and it's foul. Wow.
Well, this may be his first at bat in the big leagues, but the Cubs have a pretty good scouting report on J.D. Drew. A steady diet of off-speed pitches. Every fastball he's seen has been up around the letters.
Would this have been something had this ball had gone out of the ballpark? His first plate appearance on the night that McGwire hit 62.
There's Bud Selig's reaction, and Jim Gray's for good measure, over the outside corner, and J.D. Drew strikes out to start the 6th inning. So first major league at bat, a strikeout. Dear diary, what a night I had tonight in St. Louis, and that is an iffy pitch called for strike 3.
Well, you might as well get used to it now, J.D. You're going to have a few of those called on you in your career.
So the major league debut, not what J.D. thought about on his flight from Memphis after playing in Tim McCarver Stadium to St. Louis to make his major league debut here tonight on September 8th. Eli Marrero now, who is 0 for 1. Cardinals down by a run in the 6th inning. Cubs needing this ball game. I think they could have the old, I think, such a tired line, but a win-win situation. You see history and you get a victory, as the Mets are just getting pummeled in Philadelphia 16-3 in the 8th inning, and the win tonight would put the Cubs back a game out in front in the wild card race.
San Francisco Giants will play at San Diego later on this evening. The Giants are 2 games behind both the Mets and the Cubs entering tonight's play.
2 balls and a strike, now 3-1. We talked about the rivalry here and in Chicago between these two, but I will guarantee you the majority of Cardinal fans have seen what they wanted to see in 1998, and they'd be more than happy to see the Cubs in the postseason. The Cardinals, by the way, have been mathematically eliminated at this point. 3-2. The count on Marrero.
I think a big tip of the cap to Steve Traxel for being able to maintain his composure throughout the hugs and the salutations from Mark McGwire. The 10-minute delay. He's come back to retire, well, 5 in a row at that point. He walks Marrero here.
Let's go down to Steve Lyons, who's standing by with the commissioner.
Hi, Joe. Thank you very much. This is Bud Selig. And Bud, you are an owner of the Brewers. When Henry Aaron hit his 715th, can you compare that to this moment tonight?
Well, that was a very dramatic moment, and you know, it was remarkable then. And this has been, I don't think, Steve, in all the things I've seen in my 35 years in baseball, I'm not sure I've ever seen anything like I've seen here the last 3 days. And tonight was magnificent. You think of the history and just the way Mark handled it when he came over here and hugged the Maris family. This is a great moment for baseball, for all of us involved. It's been some summer, and it got capped off tonight. So this is, you know, this is the type of moment that for 2 or 3 generations people remember where they were when he hit the home run.
And you certainly see some emotion from Mark McGwire that we're not used to seeing in years past.
You know, you really do. Both Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire have handled it well, and I just can't tell you what how much grace and dignity they brought to the game. And we're having a great year, but they certainly are 2 of the primary reasons. And it's not only their achievements, which are obviously, I mean, magnificent. It's the way they've handled themselves all along.
Could this have happened in a better baseball city than St. Louis?
Well, you know, I have to be a little careful that, but because I said this at my press conference. But look, when you think of St. Louis and you go back to the Gas House Gang and you go back to Stan Musial and Red Schoendienst, who are sitting right here, and you think of all those years and the remarkable attendance they have. This is, if you were to ask, is there a better baseball town in America? The answer is no, there isn't. This town is absolutely remarkable, and its history proves it.
All right, but I know that you've had a great time. We certainly have too. Let's send it back up to you guys in the booth.
All right, Steve, thank you, and thank you to Bud Selig. As DeShields takes a ball down and in, 1-2. Well stated from the commissioner. Put it into perspective. It's been good, wholesome fun at the old ballpark.
Good family entertainment. You know, that word that the commissioner used that we've kicked around here in the booth, but I think it's very apropos for both the gentlemen that have been pursuing this record is dignity. They both carry themselves in such a dignified, respectful manner. You can't help but root for them.
Got another balk call. This time Steve Traxel is called for the balk, and we will get a mild argument from Jim Riggleman. And Larry Poncino, the first base umpire, tries to give a long distance reason to Jim Riggleman as he heads out as to why the balk was called. This is our second balk of the night. One by Merker and one here by Traxel.
Earlier in the game, you may remember Delino DeShields was picked off on a similar balk move from Steve Traxel, and that's what Bob was talking about earlier. When you break that left leg, you're committed to go home. He did it again, and a balk was called.
It's a very subtle movement, and it's timed so perfectly that a lot of times Traxel and the other Cub right-handed pitchers have been able to get away with it. That front knee buckles just enough, and they spin, make the throw to first base. Most base runners are trained to concentrate on that leg. When they see that left leg buckle, they know the pitcher's going home.
You know what it points out, along with everything you're talking about, is the mild argument that Tony La Russa put up back in the first inning. While it didn't change the call at the time, changes the circumstances here because he planted the seed in the head of Larry Poncino. A base hit to left field. Here comes Marrero. Glenn Allen Hill kicks it in left. A run scores. It's a 2-2 game on a base hit by Delino DeShields.
Eli Marrero is a catcher who is a fast runner. A good jump at second base. He scores easily. I would imagine this will be a single RBI for DeShields and an error on Glenn Allen Hill.
And it is. First for Hill in a Cub uniform. Doesn't have the greatest reputation as a defensive outfielder. One of the reasons why, after starting the year in Seattle, he's no longer to the right of Ken Griffey Jr. And if there was any suspense, it went out the window when Hill kicked it in left field. But Marrero's going to score either way. And now Tatis with a go-ahead run at second and one out. 2-2 game. Into left field. Well hit. Back is Hill near the track to make the catch. 2 down. In walks Mark McGwire.
I know this is not going to be a popular decision, but if I'm Jim Riggleman, I walk McGwire in a minute. Think nothing of him. In a second.
Well, you're absolutely right. It would not be a popular decision, but I agree with you. The Cubs are trying to get into the postseason, and regardless of who's chasing what record, they have to do what's best to win a ball game. And right now, the obvious choice is to put McGwire on.
You called it. The intentional walk to Mark McGwire will put 2 on with 2 out for Ray Langford. And it's almost as if to say, okay, you've had your history.
That's right.
Now we want the game.
That's right. And that, to me, is logical thinking.
In case you're just joining us, here's the way it sounded a little less than an hour ago. Record-breaking home run number 62 off the bat of McGwire. Been a family affair around here lately with Mark's 10-year-old son arriving just in time to see home run number 61 yesterday, and he doesn't have to miss another day of school. He can go back to California. He's seen home run number 62.
Well, on 61 and 62 both, it appeared that Matt McGwire wanted to do that high-five punch in the stomach thing that the Cardinals do, and both times Dad picked him up and ruined the fun.
The Maris family picking up a photograph of Roger Maris in his Cardinal uniform. Roger Maris ended his major league career in this city in that uniform. Now look at Roger Maris. Langford waits 2 on 2 out and takes a ball. It's 1-1.
Sometimes in television you have to lay out, and that's obviously what we were doing after the home run. And Bob and I are talking between innings, saying if there was ever a time to lay out, that was it. Because I'll tell you, we both almost lost it. When he went to hug the Maris family, then we almost lost it.
2 on 2 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Strike 2. One thing that we tried to give you, and we're very proud of our director Bill Webb and our producer John Filippelli, but we wanted to give you one constant look after the swing at Mark McGwire going around the bases. There's plenty of time right after the home run to show reactions from the many factions around this ballpark, but we wanted to give you one clean view of Mark McGwire with that historic trot. 2 on 2 out, 1-2 the count on Langford. It's a 2-2 game. 6th inning. Traxel trying to keep it that way. 2 balls, 2 strikes. By the way, the walk to McGwire, the 148th walk handed to him this season, and the first intentional walk since August 12th, in case you wonder about teams pitching to Mark McGwire. 2 on 2 out, and the 2-2 to Langford. Full count. The runners will go. Keep talking about records. That man, Mark McGwire, is at a pace for 166 walks. The major league record is held by Babe Ruth with 170. And many people didn't think that could be done. 2 on, 2 out, and Langford shoots one into deep right center, at the track, at the wall, 3-run homer, 5-2, St. Louis. You intentionally walk Mark McGwire, get to Langford, and Ray jumps up and bites you.
The lower the pitch, the harder he hits it. That looked like a splitter. Ray Langford does not miss pitches around the knees.
And that's part of the reason Mark McGwire has not been intentionally walked since August 12th. Ray Langford having a big year behind him in the order. You got to have that protection.
Mark McGwire called Ray Langford, and this crowd wants a curtain call. Mark McGwire called Ray Langford the best protection he has ever had in any lineup he's been in.
That was an off-Broadway curtain, by the way.
It was. 2 out, nobody on, and a ball high to GANT. One ball, no strikes on GANT. 2 out, nobody on. 3 runs home and a 1-1 count. Well, it would be tough to second guess the move of Jim Riggleman. I mean, you've got the single season home run champ, first base open, 2 out. I don't care who's hitting behind him. Strike 2 on GANT. Langford is the man hitting behind him. And Langford goes deep. Tim, you mentioned Tony La Russa's week. Losing his mother over the weekend. Jumping on a flight. Going to Tampa, Florida, which is where he is from, to attend the funeral services of his mother, Oliva. Getting on a plane, knowing that his father was doing well enough to let him attend this game. And he hustles to get back here and is in the dugout for Mark McGwire's 62nd home run. And Tony La Russa wanted to be here for that. If all was well back home, all was well back home with his 88-year-old father. And Tony La Russa, who was Mark McGwire's manager in 1987 when he came to the big leagues, is here to see McGwire make history. 2-2 on GANT. Base is empty, 2 out, and GANT gets into one to center. Deep center, back-to-back, 6-2 Cardinals. Back-to-back home runs, and this swing by Ron Gant marks the end of a historic night for Steve Trachsel. The Cardinals lead 6-2. Welcome back. A 1-ball, 1-strike count. Terry Mulholland into the game for the Cubs in relief of Trachsel, who goes 5 2/3 innings. He's on the hook for the loss. Unless the Cubs rally, they trail 6-2. 2 out, nobody on, and ball 2 down and away to Mabry, 2-1.
And unless the Cubs can catch the Cardinals in 9 innings and tie it, Kent Mercker will be the winner. Double figures for Kent, telling us before the game that these people probably came to see him hit tonight.
They're seeing home runs left and right. This one falls short off the bat of Mabry. I hope we have his reaction. Boy, was he ticked. These fans aren't. Neither's he. 6-2 Cardinals. Well, tonight's Skyview coverage from the Bud One Airship is brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser. There's a look at the Bud One Airship, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Wish you guys and gals were down here, high above. As tonight, Mark McGwire hits number 62, a 341-foot laser line drive over the wall and left. And Rick Croushore is the new Cardinal pitcher just recalled. J.D. Drew stays in the game and takes over in left field. And the reports on him in the outfield are just sit back and watch. 1 ball, 1 strike. They say he can play the outfield like few have been able to play the outfield. They like him eventually in center field. So Drew stays in the game, and Croushore will bat in the spot vacated by GANT. Here's a fly ball into right center field off the bat of Jose Hernandez and into the glove of Mabry, 1 away. Well, last inning, and this is now a game of reactions. Mark McGwire's reaction to the Ron GANT home run, which made it a 6-2 game. Then Mabry thought, all right, we're going back to back to back. It fell short. And here's his reaction as he's hit 2 deep drives, but so far tonight is 0 for 3.
That's the maddest anybody's been tonight.
And he got over it quickly.
Yeah.
Here's Grace. 1 out, nobody on. The 7th inning stretch is coming, but that is pretty much redundant. I mean, it's already happened. It's happened one time after another throughout this game, and maybe they'll rest. 7th inning rest.
They'll stay seated. Huh?
Yeah. 1 out, nobody on. Grace up. Sosa next. And a strike to Grace from Croushore, who features that good fastball and the screwball from a right-handed pitcher. Two and 2. Well, you will know more and more about Steve Traxel. You have to give him a lot of credit here tonight. He could have made it look like he was pitching to McGwire. He came after him. He got him in the 1st inning on a 3-0 pitch, and McGwire grounded out. Didn't get him in the 4th inning. There's a look at Steve, 27-year-old, born in Oxnard, California, lives in Mesa, Arizona. He has a career high 14 wins in 1998, but right now he is in essence the new Tracy Stallard, as the pitch is up and away to Grace to make it 3 and 2.
Tracy Stallard giving up Roger Maris's 61st home run back in 1961 in game 162.
That's up and away for a 1-out walk. The Cubs need a rally here, and they have the right combination. A walk to Grace and Sosa coming to the plate. Here is Sammy, who gets yet another standing ovation here. This night would be complete if Sosa hits a home run. With 58 and 140 RBIs. And a ball from Croushore.
The Cubs have 43 come from behind victories on the season. One of the marks of this 1998 Chicago Cubs ball club. They're never out of a game, especially when you've got Sammy Sosa in the middle of your lineup.
Broken back into left center field. A late break by J.D. Drew, but he's there to put it away. Sosa is retired. He is now 1 for 3. Tomorrow night, Fox Sports Net will air a special on the incredible home run chase called Breaking the Record Home Run History. That's tomorrow night at 6:30 and 11 p.m. local time on the Fox Sports Net. We know how that show's going to end tomorrow night. Into center field, Glenn Allen Hill gets a base hit. Grace stops at second. It's 2 on, 2 out. And the Cubs hoping for a big rally, and they have red-hot Gary Gaetti, who came in with a .383 average in 18 games for the Cubs, and tonight 2 out of 3.
There is a big difference between breaking a record and breaking the record. And tonight, Mark McGwire broke the record that most people think is the most revered in any sport. Home runs in a single season.
You definitely get the feeling they're going to have to change that number before the end of the season. Maybe several times.
Everybody has to look around them and wonder what, as Lance Painter gets ready, what memorabilia they can take away from this night. Somebody's going to get that banner up there, you know that.
Right.
Might be hung outside Mark's off-season home back in California. Look good in my basement. 2 on, 2 out. Gaetti takes a ball low from Croushore. Final score: the Phillies embarrassing the Mets 16-4. So the Cubs, at the very worst, will be tied with the Mets at the end of the night in the wild card chase. And there the Mets a half game out. If the Cubs fail to rally, they'll be back even. But then you start looking at the Giants again. The Giants starting the night tonight, now 2 games back. And they are leading at San Diego 1-0 in the first inning. There's a strike, and it's 2-1 on Gaetti. 2 on, 2 out.
San Francisco, San Diego gave Kirk Reeder, the left-hander, against Andy Ashby. Nomo was the starter in the Mets game today. Not sure exactly how many of those 16 runs were his.
3-1 on Gaetti. As Croushore is making this more and more interesting, with a 300 hitter Morandini on deck. A walk to Grace, a hit by Hill. Morandini next, but right now the 3-1 to Gaetti. Pops it up, back behind the plate, and it's out of play. Tony La Russa and the Cardinals will head to Cincinnati after tonight's game. You think that'll be a fun flight?
Mark McGwire wouldn't even need an airplane tonight.
Here's the 3-2 pitch. Just missed. Off the inside corner. The bases are loaded with 2 out for Morandini, and that might be it for Croushore.
This 3-2 pitch just inside to Gary Gaetti. Could have been a little low. Good call.
And with Morandini coming up, Croushore, who was just reinstated on the Cardinal roster, as the rosters have been able to expand now in September, cannot get through a full inning. We're in the 7th. The Cubs are rallying, trying to get back in it. Lance Painter will enter. Lance Painter takes over, third pitcher of the night for St. Louis, second of the inning, and he inherits a bases loaded 2 out Mickey Morandini situation.
Morandini always a tough hitter, but particularly with runners on base, he'll battle, he'll hang in there tough. Although it looks like Matt Mieske has come out into the on deck circle to hit for Mickey Morandini.
Well, we praised one move. I have to question this one. And Mieske might step in and pound a grand slam with the bases loaded 2 out, and he is a 300 hitter, but Morandini is a season-long accomplished 300 hitter, doing a lot of that against left-handed pitching, and I don't.
It is a strange move unless unless there is an injury that we don't know about to Mickey Morandini.
Morandini was in the on-deck circle, and I am going to go out on a limb and say there's nothing physically wrong with him. But it's Mieske now as Jim Riggleman goes to the right-hander. Bases loaded, 2 out, facing Painter and taking a ball high. Matt Mieske has spent the better part of his career in Milwaukee. And in his first year with the Cubs, there are his career numbers with the bases loaded. He's a .300 hitter. He did just get recalled from AAA Iowa. So Morandini is lifted here in the 7th with the bases loaded, 2 out. And that's low, ball 2, 2-0. Morandini is 0 for 7 lifetime against Lance Painter, if you want statistics to back you up. But you can see Mickey shaking his head over there.
He doesn't believe in those computer printouts.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. Bases loaded, 2 out. Cubs need a hit. Off the mask of Marrero, 2-1.
You think being a catcher is easy, huh? A lot of people think shots like that don't hurt, but they do.
It'll rattle your cage, cross your eyes for a few minutes.
Now the 2-1 pitch to Mieske with the bases loaded, 2 out. Into center field. Langford over to get it. The Cubs threaten but do not score. They leave 3 and have stranded 11. Bottom of the order coming up for the Cardinals on a historic night in St. Louis. Terry Mulholland goes back to work. New second baseman is Jason Maxwell. He's just called up from AAA Iowa, and he gets to play in this historic game. As Luis Ordaz, the shortstop for the Cardinals, then Drew, then Eli Marrero will bat for St. Louis, leading 6-2 in the 7th. So they pinch hit for Morandini and now have to replace him defensively. And Ordaz behind on the count 0-1. Here's J.D. Drew. From the Northern League to a new contract to Double-A Little Rock to Triple-A Memphis to the Cardinals. What a year. And to a major league debut on a night in which Mark McGwire hits number 62.
And prior to that, laying out a professional ball for a year because the Philadelphia Phillies couldn't sign him, couldn't get together with numbers.
1-1. Ordaz chops it foul. Now I hope JD knows it's not like this every night around here.
Yeah, right.
Cardinals for the most part are penciling him in for a starting spot in their outfield next year, and it's a big topic of discussion around here because of the impending free agency. Part of Brian Jordan, who may leave at the end of the year. 2-2 on Ordaz.
Well, it's going to be a tough go for J.D. Drew the remainder of this season and into next year as you get a look at Brian Jordan sitting this one out tonight. J.D. Drew really alienated himself from a lot of the major league players by holding out, not signing the contract. Many veterans felt that he needed to prove himself before he cashed in with the big payday, but Drew stuck to his guns, and here he is in the most historic game in the history of baseball.
A lot of people thought, Tim, that it was his agent Scott Boras who was driving that train. J.D. Drew and his family will tell you it was J.D. Drew and his family that were driving that train. But it wasn't Boras trying to make a statement. The 2-2 to Ordaz is to the second baseman Maxwell, just into the game. His first put out goes without a hitch, 1 away.
And the final number, from what I understand, a little over $8 million as a bonus. That is whether he makes it or not. And, bonuses have gone up since I was playing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Is it hypocritical at all for major leaguers to make the comments that some made publicly about J.D. Drew with regard to holding out for the money?
Perhaps. Yeah, that's a good point.
Come on. Into left center field off the bat of Drew. Lance Johnson to his right, 2 out. Well, this isn't TGIF, and this is no average neighborhood. Catch the series premiere of Living in Captivity and the season premiere of Getting Personal It's all a part of Wild Thing Friday, starting at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox. Friday night. 2 out, nobody on, and here's Marrero. And that's foul for strike 1. Ray Latchman makes a friend with a souvenir on this night.
Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire will hit again. McGwire, at the very least, will be third up at the bottom of the 8th. And Sosa, even if the first 4 Cubs are retired in the 8th inning and the 1st and the 9th, he'll be the batter in the top of the 9th inning.
And we again hope to talk to Mark McGwire right after the ball game, so stay with us for those words as Marrero strikes out looking, and we slip into the 8th inning. Mulholland does his job. 8th inning, Cubs need some runs. They trail the Cardinals 6-2. Here is our Toyota game summary. Mark McGwire hits his 62nd home run of the season, an all-time record. Period. What more do you want? The Cubs want a lot more. They trail 6-2, and they get a leadoff base hit from Scott Service. On our Toyota game summary, Sammy Sosa 1 for 3 with a single and a walk, and everybody around here pulling for a Sosa home run. Mark Grace an RBI single in the 1st. Gaetti did the same, and the Cardinals 5 runs in the 6th inning, including home runs by Langford and Gant. They went back to back. A look at the Bud 1 airship overhead here in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, the world headquarters of Anheuser-Busch. And Budweiser is the official beer of Major League Baseball. They help bring you the pictures from above. A leadoff hit, and now Manny Alexander is at the plate pinch hitting, and he takes a strike.
Joe, Bob, I'll tell you what I want. I want to see Sammy Sosa batting with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and hit a grand slam home run. Hey, this is a movie, isn't it?
Certainly feels like it, doesn't it?
It does.
Are we collectively Joe Bob now?
Yeah,
All right.
Joe Bob.
All right.
Well,
I'll take it.
Bobby Joe, Joe Bob. Depends what part of the country you're in.
That's right. 1 on, nobody out. A leadoff hit by Service. Manny Alexander, a .234 hitter. Grounds to first, past McGwire. DeShields, great effort, but too late. Base hit. The first 2 are on for the Cubs here in the 8th inning. Great effort by DeShields. Painter got over there, but the speed of Alexander, it's a clean infield single all the way.
And once that grounder got past Mark McGwire, it was going to be a very difficult play for the second baseman, who's off balance, making the awkward throw, trying to hit the moving target in the pitcher covering first base. And as you mentioned, Alexander's speed just too much.
Well, here you go, Tim. We're getting there. 2 on, nobody out, top of the order. Here's a look, and you will see that Alexander was safe. Lance Johnson takes the ball. Lance is 0 for 4. He's fly to center, fly to left, line to right, and grounded out. Action starts for the Cardinals in their bullpen, and there's action for the Cubs in their bullpen. We got action. 2 on, nobody out, and Johnson takes a strike. 1-1. Don Wengert, the right-hander, getting ready for Chicago. Two on, nobody out, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count on Johnson. And a visit to Painter while they get John Frascatore ready in the Cardinal bullpen.
by the way, after tonight's game is over, there is postseason in baseball this year, right?
There is.
Right, the World Series.
It will happen.
Wild card, National League Championship Series, American League. You know, you would think this is the 7th game of the World Series. That's the feeling it has to me.
I would agree with that, and I would also add that as Johnson takes a pitch low to make it 2-1, this season is setting up for an extremely exciting postseason and World Series, and of course could be blamed for self-serving reasons for saying that, but I think people who watch this game day in and day out believe that. 2 on, nobody out, 2 balls and a strike on Johnson, and 2-2 as all of a sudden the high strike is being called. which is to the delight of Lance Painter.
Since he's thrown a couple pitches up near the top of the zone. Yeah, this entire baseball season has been kind of a can you top this?
Yeah.
Good numbers for Johnson with runners in scoring position. He has a man out there. Lays off, and it's 3-2.
Ken Griffey Jr. satisfying the Pacific Northwest with 50 home runs. San Francisco with a possible wild card. The San Diego Padres with a marvelous ball club. Houston, a very dangerous club.
Off the plate, the Cardinals will get only one.
The Atlanta Braves are the Atlanta Braves again.
We'll put that on hold, and we'll show you, Tim and Bob and the rest of our viewers, the reaction from across the country when Mark McGwire connected.
Diamond Vision Board here at Veterans Stadium.
George Steinbrenner. That is obviously the view from a big screen, probably at Fenway, with the Yankees and Red Sox playing there, and George Steinbrenner standing and applauding. Now, as the runners have advanced to second and third in a 4-run game in the 8th inning, the Cardinals will make a pitching change. Frascatore stomps in. Hernandez, Grace, and Sosa coming up. Well, Sammy Sosa, Tim, probably thinking along the lines that you were earlier, hoping he gets a chance, and there is a way he could bat in this inning representing the tying run.
If Jose Hernandez or Mark Grace gets on base, then Sosa would be the batter with the bases loaded.
There it is, 62-58. Like a bad high school football game.
Yeah, and if that does happen, bad defensive high school football game. But it took Sammy Sosa so long to hit a grand slam home run, and then he hit 2 in a period of 3 games, in 2 games back to back.
Well, while John Frascatore gets ready, you look at his numbers. We have so many people to thank for making this possible, for showing this historic night to this nation on national TV, network, over-the-air national television. We want to thank, of course, the senior coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on Fox and the producer of today's game, John Filippelli. Our director, unparalleled in this business, is Bill Webb. The senior producer of the studio shows, Scott Ackerson. Produced by Gary Lang on a week-by-week basis. Directed by Bob Levy. Assisted there by Jennifer Love. And the senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports, David Hill and Ed Gorin. And boy, have they made this happen. And today's technical producer, Dave Hill. Technical director, Mitch Riggin. Special thanks to Lance Garrett, Derek Manning, Mike Fitzgerald, and as always, our hats are off to Steve Horn, who does the best job in any booth across the country assisting us. Second and third, 1 out, and the pitch to Jose Hernandez is up high from John Frascatore.
It's nice when your job is your privilege.
And it has been that tonight, hasn't it?
It indeed has.
Lou Brock, Hall of Famer, number 20, and a former member of both of these two teams. The Chicago Cubs traded to the Cardinals, and it was greatness after that. Number 2 in the all-time stolen base list, and he with 3,000 career hits. Second and third, 1 out, and the 1-0 pitch to Hernandez. That'll get a run home. Ordaz makes the play at first, out, the RBI ground out. Second out of the inning, and it's now a 6-3 Cardinal lead.
Lewis Clark Brock traded to the St. Louis Cardinals on June 15, 1964. Biggest debacle as far as trades are concerned in Chicago Cub history. And Lou went on, number 20, on to be a Hall of Famer. What a player. Wow.
Now runner at third with 2 out for Grace, and he takes a strike over the outside corner from Frascatore. Grace tonight has been on base 3 times, 2 for 3 plus a walk.
1-1. Lou Brock and Bob Gibson, both a couple of Hall of Famers. special instructors for the Cardinals. Not a couple of bad guys to have for special instructors.
And Stan Musial's the team musician with the harmonica into left field off the bat of Grace. Back to get it, J.D. Drew, and the inning is over. The Cubs get a run. They creep 1 run closer. We'll see McGwire in the bottom of this 8th, 6-3 St. Louis. Welcome back to the ballpark. The name of the ballpark, Busch Stadium in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. And tonight, Tuesday, September 8th, 1998, Mark McGwire broke the single season home run record of 61 home runs hit by Roger Maris in 1961. He has 62 and counting, and I think the and counting is going to leave a lot of drama for the rest of this season.
I don't know how you could possibly predict where he's going to end up. I mean, the pressure is off now. He could fall into a slump and finish the year on a down note. He could respond exactly the opposite way. The pressure's off. He's relaxed. He's having fun. He may go on a tear. But whatever number he ends up at, I have a feeling it's going to stand for quite some time.
And I'll tell you, I think Sammy Sosa is going to be relentless for the rest of the season because the Cubs have something to fight for.
A ground ball to first off the bat of the Shields. One away as Grace takes care of it. New pitcher is Don Wingert. Takes over for Mulholland, 3rd of the night. The numbers for Wingert, a record of 1-3. Here's Tatis, 0 for 3, hitting in front of McGwire tonight. Manny Alexander now at second base as they take Jason Maxwell back out of the lineup. 1 out, nobody on, and a strike is poured into Tatis. Well, soon I will be leaving you two. Headed down to hopefully corral Mark McGwire for an interview after this game, and that's going to be. I want your best wishes as you send me down there.
Good luck to you.
You may never see me again.
Good luck to you.
Okay.
We're behind you winter tide.
0-2 on Tatis. He left in the 8th and was never heard from again. 1-2.
Well, I can't help but think every time I see Matthew McGwire down there as the bad boy. I have a son about his age, and when he goes back to school, whether it be tomorrow or the day after, and has to turn in that composition, what I did on my Labor Day vacation.
2-2.
Let's see. I got to fly on a jet, go to St. Louis, and watch my dad set the all-time single-season home run record in Major League Baseball. I think he'll get an A.
He'll end it with any questions.
Yeah. Well, the questions will be put to Mark McGwire after this one as Tatis strikes out looking, and in walks Mark McGwire, the hero of the night right now, the hero of the 1998 season. One more standing ovation here in the 8th inning for Mr. 62. Well, from here on out, it's not going to be any more. Is he going to break it? It's going to be how many is he going to hit? Since the record, number 62, he's been intentionally walked in the 6th inning.
An enormous pressure since spring training began. Mark, do you think you have a chance? And then he opened the season with 4 home runs in 4 games to tie Willie Mays, the only other player to do that.
2 out, nobody on, and a 1-1 count on McGwire. Yeah, he's been hearing this since really the end of last year.
Yeah.
When he ended up with 58. First question of spring training for Mark McGwire. You think you can break the record? 2-1. I asked him a question. I did a sit-down interview with Mark McGwire for the Fox Sports Net spring training. He said, I don't want to answer. I said, the one question everybody wants to ask you, you won't answer. And he said, well, I figure I have to average 10 a month, and if I do that, I'll do it. And if I have 50 by the start of September, I'll have a chance. 2-2. We would like to welcome those of you who have been watching the Cincinnati Reds and the Houston Astros on FX. This is what could be the final at bat tonight for Mark McGwire, who has 62 home runs. The 2-2 pitch from Wengert. Full count.
A perfect example in this at bat against Don Wengert of how pitchers try to get Mark McGwire out. Sweeping breaking balls away off the outside corner and high fastballs up above the letters.
Here it comes on 3-2. A 2-out walk. So after the record, an intentional walk and now an unintentional walk. But if you want to get an asterisk out for that one, you can go ahead. Maybe unintentional in the books, but Wengert was not going to groove one on 3-2. So the walk continues the inning, and it ends the night for Don Wengert with Langford coming up. He's already burned the Cubs tonight once. And Chicago will go to the left-hander here in the 8th. McGwire is at first after the walk, and the batter is Ray Langford. Langford is 1 out of 3, but the one is a big one. A 2-out, 3-run home run his last time up. Guys, how much can the Babe stand? Mark McGwire passes him. Ruth's record of 60 home runs stood for 34 years until Maris in 61. So he passed him long ago, and now he's on pace for 167 walks. Ruth's record there is the major league record of 170. That could be eclipsed, which would be incredible that he could do both in the same season.
Because Babe Ruth did not hit 60 home runs and set the National League or the American League record, Major League record for walks in the same season. He walked 170 times in 1923 and homered 60 times, of course, in 1927.
One on, 2 out. Langford a big swing and a miss against Felix Heredia. Heredia, the numbers, he was a trading deadline acquisition by the Cubs from the world champion Marlins. By the way, they too have been mathematically eliminated. Somewhere close to the All-Star break. 1 on, 2 out, a ball and 2 strikes. Langford waits. 2-2. John Frascatore is on deck, and right now there's no action in the Cardinal bullpen, although Acevedo was up earlier. He has been the closer for St. Louis lately, and it might be his 9th inning. Here's the 2-2 to Langford. That should end 8 innings for the night. Lance Johnson staggers under it, has it. McGwire is left. The Cardinals strand a runner in the 8th inning, and we go to the 9th. 3 outs away from the end of this one. 6-3 St. Louis.
On a night as historic as this, that's all the Cardinals need is a change in their battery. Tom Lampkin, the new catcher, and the new pitcher Juan Acevedo, as Joe Buck is making his way down to the dugout to talk to Mark McGwire.
Well, Tom Lampkin was one of those guys Joe mentioned earlier about when a pitcher has a no-hitter going, guys on the bench try to stay away from him. They don't mention it. And throughout McGwire's chase of the home run record, the guys on the Cardinals bench have tried to avoid the topic as much as possible. And Tom Lampkin, one of his teammates who refused to shake his hand. I'm not going to shake your hand until you break the record. Lampkin broke down last night, or however, on number 61, decided to go ahead and shake his hand, and now today could officially congratulate him on breaking the record.
Told us before the game that he did not know what he was going to do tonight. He didn't think he could stick to it, just sitting over on the bench idly. Well, here's Sammy Sosa. Homerless on the evening. 58 on the year against Juan Acevedo, who can be wild. And the crowd yelling for Sosa. Just missed that pitch. 0-1 to Sammy Sosa.
Boy, a home run cut there from Sammy Sosa on a low fastball. We've mentioned it throughout the broadcast, throughout the summer. Sosa, a very good low ball hitter. That one about the middle of the thighs. Generates every bit as much power from a much smaller frame.
Ball 1-1 now to Sammy Sosa, leading off the ninth, 6-3 Cardinals.
Consecutive series with a home run.
15 in a row, so if he does not get a home run here and the Cubs do not overtake the Cardinals, then this will be the first time since early August that Sammy has not homered in a series. 1 ball, 2 strikes as McGwire looks on. Tougher pitch from Acevedo outside with the fastball. Still 1-2.
You wonder if Sammy Sosa has a sense of relief that McGwire's finally broken the record.
It's a good point. High, ball 2, 2-2. Now Sammy can get back to business of trying to win the wild card berth in postseason play for the Chicago Cubs. 2 guys from totally different cultures. And Sosa down on strikes. The 1 out here in the 9th inning, and this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball, and he's here tonight, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Round of applause, another standing ovation for Sammy Sosa. This one lined by Glenn Allen Hill to left center field, and Hill's going to have his second hit of the game. He doubles with 1 out, so the Cubs still very much alive here in the 9th inning. Gary Gaetti coming up. We talked about Sosa earlier, mentioning that he was from the little bastion of baseball strength down in the Dominican Republic, San Pedro de Macorís. There was a marvelous article in the New York Times by Larry Roeder today talking about when the games are on down there in the streets in San Pedro de Macorís, they're as empty as when the government decrees a curfew. They're all inside listening to what Sammy has done. Lined hard over the head of the left fielder J.D. Drew, but what Joe Buck said earlier, he got a little glimpse of with a great jump on a ball hit by Gaetti. 2 out.
And on one of the toughest balls for an outfielder to play, that line drive hit directly at you, and Drew, as you mentioned, a great jump, immediately broke back toward the wall and was able to make that reaching catch almost at the warning track.
And Orlando Merced will be the pinch hitter for Jason Maxwell, the second baseman. Merced, formerly with the Pittsburgh Pirates, most recently with the Toronto Blue Jays, and exclusively as a left-handed batter now. He was a switch hitter when he came up. 2 out, Glenn Allen Hill on second. 6-3 St. Louis. Check swing, foul ball. 0-1 to Orlando Merced.
Hot off the press.
The Bulldog edition. Bob Brenly and I have just received the Bulldog edition of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that says unbelievable class 62. What a remarkable year for Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Orlando Merced. Joe Buck is working his way down through the bowels of Busch Stadium. As a matter of fact, he's right behind home plate right now. He will have Mark McGwire and perhaps some words from Sammy Sosa too. Fans on their feet on this historic night. Punch foul. That delays further elation here in St. Louis. what thoughts must be running through his mind right now. Curveball way high, 2-2 now to Merced.
Well, Mark has been so accommodating to the press. Post-game media sessions after every ball game that go on and on and on, and I imagine this is one that he's looked forward to and is anxious to put behind him.
Finally, with a chance to be somewhat pensive. Inside, full count now to Merced. On deck batter is Scott Service, and should Merced get aboard, then Service will represent the potential tying run. Mark McGwire is homered for the 62nd time in the 1998 baseball season. He did it in his second at bat, a laser shot 341 feet from home plate. Tap toward third, this could be it. What a play by Tatis to end it. We are planning, and Joe is down on the field right now. We're planning to have an interview with Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa will be talking to Joe Buck and Steve Lyons. Winning pitcher Kent Merker, his record 10-11. Losing pitcher Steve Traxel, his record 14-8. Joe talked about it earlier. For Steve Traxel, he will be forever remembered in baseball history as giving up Mark McGwire's 62nd home run, a solo shot here tonight.
Going to get one more look at the historic home run off the bat of Mark McGwire, as Tim mentioned and Joe earlier. An absolute laser beam to left field. The only question was, is it high enough to clear the fence? Obviously it was.
I still love that shot. Dave McKay bringing McGwire back to make him touch first base because he was so happy and emotional he jumped over the bag. What a trip.
There's Mark McGwire with a big hug to his son Matthew after crossing home plate. A hug for catcher Scott Service. A hug for the Maris family. You get the feeling Mark McGwire would have hugged every person in this stadium tonight if time allowed.
Mark with his parents now. Enough emotions for you tonight, partner?
Oh, man, I'll tell you. It's been hard to talk at times. Can only imagine the feelings that must be running through that young man right now.
I think we're about to find out as we go down to Joe Buck and Mark McGwire on the field. Joseph?
All right, Tim, thank you very much. You've hugged everybody else, pal. I want one. Give me a hug. Congratulations. Congratulations. Can you, I know it's been difficult all year to describe what it's like for you to go through what you've been through. Can you describe the feeling of relief and how you feel right now after becoming the single season home run champion?
I tell you what, I was so shocked because I didn't think the ball had enough to get out. And when I saw the ball leave, I looked up and Dave McKay was in my way and I sort of missed first base, had to come back and touch it. And then, you know, I don't remember anything after that. And then I come in and everybody's hugging me and I lift up my son and I'm hugging and I go over and talk to the Marises and I just, I was numb. And then I said, I still got to play the game, you know, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But it's an absolutely incredible feeling. It's, I can honestly say I did it.
I want to say in front of the world, it has been such a pleasure watching you conduct yourself on the field and off the field. This is the headline, unbelievable class. He's in a class of his own on the field, and why don't I welcome in his parents right now, John and Ginger McGwire. You two ought to be awfully proud of the young man that you helped put together and give to the world. John, first you, can you describe what you're feeling tonight?
Ginger and I are deliriously happy over Mark's accomplishment. I mean, it's just phenomenal what he's achieved this year, starting with spring training and setting his mind to accomplish this goal. It's beyond our wildest dreams to be here tonight. Last night, he hit the 61st on my 61st birthday. Tonight, he hit his 62nd for the people of St. Louis, as he said. What a class act.
A class act, and Mom, I know you don't like this, but just a quick word about Mark and how proud you are.
It's just an incredible moment in the history of baseball, and I'm just so very proud of my son.
Thank you. Love you guys.
It just seems so unreal. Do you want to pitch me?
Yes, it's real. Congratulations. And for you, my friend, you realize, and this is the last question, I'll let you go, you realize what you have done for the game of baseball, don't you? You flung this game on your back, and you've taken it for a ride in 1998.
Well, I tell you what, if I'm responsible for it and the fans are coming out to watch it, I'm sure proud to be responsible for the game of baseball getting back on its feet, because I tell you what, I am damn proud of what I've accomplished, what I had to go through, and especially the support I've been getting here in St. Louis is absolutely incredible. And I thank St. Louis for everything.
Well, on behalf of St. Louis, on behalf of the baseball world, the sports world, and right now pretty much the country, I want to say thank you, Mark McGwire, and congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Mark McGwire, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mark. This has been a magical night toward the end of a magical season. If you were to construct a home run hitter in a lab, put him together, he'd look like that, and he'd be that kind of person. He is genuinely someone that we can all look up to and realize that greatness is in our midst. This man tonight hit home run number 62 in the Cardinals' 145th game of the year. He is now the new single-season home run champion. He has 62 and counting, and the question now, how many before the end of 1998? Tonight's swing is worth another look.
High fly ball in the left. That ball carries to the track. Might leave the park. He did it. A grand slam. And it's 4-0. McGwire with number one.
Swing, and there it is. Look at this baby. Into the upper deck. Off the facade up there. Number 17. What did he doubt about this one going to the yellow line? Woo!
Runner goes, and a long one on left field. Number 21. And the Cardinals take it.
Beautiful. Our heroes prove in liberation strife. Who more than self their country love, and mercy more than life. America, America, make God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness. From sea to shining sea. Oh, Lord, I thank you, Lord.
They can't say it anymore.
comes to McGwire. Swing! Look at there! Look at there! Home run, McGwire! What a moment! Pardon me while I stand up and applaud.
The next man, I've been thinking all night how to introduce him. There's only one way. The man, Stan Musial. And now, with great honor, I'd like to introduce some special guests. They have conducted themselves with grace and dignity. The Maris family and their children. I would like to introduce them individually, the Maris children, Susan, Sandra, Randy, Kevin, Richard, and Roger Jr. Mrs. Maris couldn't be with us tonight, but all of us send our very best wishes and a thank you for her graciousness. On behalf of everyone in Major League Baseball, I want to thank both Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa for providing us with a home run chase that has captivated sports fans around the world. You have made this a summer that generations will remember. To acknowledge Mark for breaking the 37-year-old single-season home run record set by the great Roger Maris, I am honored to present Mark the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award. Mark is the first recipient of this award, and it is only fitting that it is being presented to the player who has broken baseball's most important individual record. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you, Commissioner Seelig. It goes without saying that Tony La Russa, the Cardinal coaches, and Mark's teammates have certainly enjoyed this chase this summer. And here with a special presentation from the Cardinal players is Cardinal catcher Tom Lampkin.
Well, first of all, we just like to thank the fans that came out and supported us through all the ups and downs that we've had this season. When Mark said in a press conference a few days ago that we had the best fans here in St. Louis, believe me, I've been all over the country, and he wasn't lying. On behalf of the players, the coaches, the staff, we'd like to congratulate Mark on this unbelievable, remarkable feat and thank him for letting us be a part of it. We have a lineup card with everybody's signature on it as our way of saying thanks for the lifetime of memories. We won't forget these as long as we live. Thank you.
One more speaker, one more gift, and then you'll hear from the man of the moment. Here with a special gift from the Cardinals, on behalf of you great fans who have thrilled to the exploits all season, is the Cardinals chairman of the board and the general partner, Mr. Bill DeWitt, Jr.
Thanks, Jack. On behalf of the St. Louis Cardinals and baseball's greatest fans, congratulations, Mark, for accomplishing one of the greatest feats in the history of sports. Your majestic home runs have captivated the nation, and we are proud to have you join baseball's all-time greats as a member of the Cardinals, a 106-year-old storied franchise for which this is clearly a defining moment. And in front of Hall of Famers who saw you today, Lou Brock, Stan Musial, Jack Buck, Red Schoendienst, and at home, Bob Gibson and Enos Slaughter. Your quest for Babe Ruth and Roger Maris has been marked with respect and grace and a wonderful style. We salute you, we congratulate you, and most of all, we thank you. And it goes without saying that one day, number 25 will be parked right up there. Now, as a small memento on this historic occasion, for all that you have done for us in the Cardinal community, please look to the right field wagon gate. A classic car for a classic slugger and true American hero. A '62 Cardinal Red Corvette for 62 home runs.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you feast your eyes on that lovely gift, I want to bring a member of the Cardinal ground crew to the microphone and to the stage. And the reason why is that Mr. Tim Farnaris, a member of the Cardinal ground crew, ended up with the baseball that was hit for home run number 62. And he wants to present it to Mark McGwire.
Mr. McGwire, I think I have something that belongs to you.
I was going to tell you to sit down so we could get up and give him a standing ovation. But you're already on your feet. And the reason you are on your feet is because of this man, number 25, Mark McGwire.
Let's see, where do I start? Well, first of all, thank all the owners here in St. Louis for bringing me over here. In that beautiful car right there. I'd like to thank all my teammates for putting up with all the media for the last couple of months, and really putting up with me. And this belongs to you as well as it belongs to me, and I thank every one of you. To all the Marises, for being so kind, supportive, and understanding the true feeling that their father is in my heart. And when I touched this bat tonight before the game, I knew tonight was going to be the night. And I can honestly now say I can rest my bat alongside Roger Maris's bat in the Hall of Fame, and I'm damn proud of it. To all my family, to my great ex-wife, her husband, to get my son here on time yesterday. Al, you're a rock.
I guess finally, to end this night is historical, and when I drove to the ballpark today, I honestly and truly wanted to hit it for the city. You guys have never made me feel more welcome coming here last year. I remember my first at bat, standing ovation, and I'll remember my last one a few years down the line. But I'll tell you what, the best fans in America, the best fans in baseball, thank you. Let's enjoy the night.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for our ball club which is playing very well, it's off to Cincinnati and Houston, so those fans can cheer Mark McGwire and the Cardinals. And let's hear it one more time to cap off this wonderful evening for Mark McGwire, the new single-season home run king. Our favorite number is 62. Nice going, Mark.